Welcome, everybody, to the Tom Bilyeu Show. We are live. I am joined by our fearless producer, Drew, who is back in action. It's wonderful to see you. And we've got Mason DJing for the community. So if you guys have anything that you want to say, you want to hear, you want to make sure that I hear, do let him know. We are constantly in the feed paying attention to what you guys are saying. So we're excited to be with you today. We've got a very full docket. Trump has locked in a massive trade deal with the EU that certainly puts America first. I'm going to be very interested to see how people respond to that. Speaking of the way that people respond, Sydney Sweeney and her good genes continue to burn through the entire culture. This is wild. If you looked away from X, as I did for a couple days, and you come back, it is everywhere. Man, people are losing their minds over this one. That's going to be fun. Cory Booker blasts the Democrats for bending a knee to Trump. Drew has an interesting take that I want you guys to hear. That I think, ironically, is going to take us into some Chinese waters. We're going to be talking all about that. I've been thinking about China nonstop, so we are going to have an interesting one there. An 8.8 earthquake rocked Russia, and a resulting tsunami threatened people in Hawaii, had them scrambling all over the place, right up to Oprah's door. I'm not kidding, there was some drama around a private road that she has access to. So we'll be talking about that. MIT gave us a student who has created a device that lets you, this is real, lets you telepathically search Google. No? Yeah, I was expecting a much bigger. Woo! You can telepathically search Google. That's wild. That is wild. And America, everybody, is rapidly re-emerging as a semiconductor tech hub. That is going to be critical for the decade ahead. I'm telling you, China is the conversation. It is the beginning and end of what we need to be talking about over the next 10 years. You're going to find that more and more, something that we're covering here. I'm reading a book right now called On Xi Jinping, and it is very impressive when you can make everybody do what you say, and you just point them in a singular direction. And so America's going to have to answer the question, how are we going to deal with that? And I think from a cultural perspective, Drew, we're not ready to deal with it. We are not ready. And this is why I think your thing on Cory Booker is interesting. I did not have this take watching Cory Booker, but you have an interesting question. Why don't we play the clip, and then let's talk about where we're headed here. Good morning, everybody in chat, by the way.
And this happened yesterday on the Senate floor.
Not caring about the larger principles.
He's talking to Democrats,
that those free speech rights, that you could take on any client, why are you bending the knee? I see universities that should be bastions of free speech bending at the knee to this president. I see businesses taking late night talk show hosts off the air because they dare to insult a president. I see people who want mergers suddenly think that they have to pay tribute to this president. And what are the very people here elected to defend the Constitution of the United States saying, oh, well, today, let's look the other way and pass some resources that won't go to Connecticut, that won't go to Illinois, that won't go to New York, that will go to the states he likes. That is complicity with an authoritarian leader who is trashing our Constitution. It's time for Democrats to have a backbone. It's time for us to fight. It's time for us to draw lines. And when it comes to the safety of my state being denied these grants, that's why I'm standing here. Don't question my integrity. Don't question my motives. I'm standing for Jersey. I am standing for my police officers. I'm standing for the Constitution, and I'm standing for what's right. And
let's go. I'm standing for Jersey. I think that's what got me.
As soon as he said that, I was like, oh, okay, this is your boy here.
That's why Drew likes it.
Okay, so you were talking about this being about, is gridlock the answer? So set us up. How do you interpret his words? Because for me, this was more of the Democrats have a playbook. Trump is fascist. Mm-hmm. We've got to stop him. And so that was what I was hearing, but you went somewhere else with it.
If we really played it out, so he riles up all the Democrats, they get into one accord, and he actually is successful in stopping it. That will be
it? Stopping what?
Let's say stopping Trump's agenda, and just agenda is the thing that he wants to pass. That's not a spin. That would be a standstill for the country. We won't be able to pass resources. Finance won't be getting disseminated to different states. Programs will be on pause. There is a level of gridlock, quote unquote, government shutdown that would happen if the Democrats were to not be complicit like he's asking for and fight back. And I just think that we're at a very interesting time in the country right now where half the country would rather nothing happen in order to take the political win than to actually say, okay, well, I don't like Trump, but at least let him pass the 25% that I do agree with, and then we'll at least get a housing bill passed, or we'll at least get, this one was for police resources and like first responders. At least we get this bill passed. So it's like, it seems like the lack of compromise is starting to become so apparent that we much rather have one year of executive actions and presidential unilaterally, and then 3 years of gridlock, and then 1 year, and we're just kind of going through this up-down circle for the next 20 years. And I know compared to other countries, other regimes, they have that flexibility that we might not necessarily have.
Yeah, so I think that points us in a really interesting direction. So is gridlock the answer? And I think gridlock has served America for a very long time. I've been very pro gridlock. I've loved the fact that our democracy, the way that it works, is we basically get this tension between the two sides and we can sort of stop each other from doing anything really crazy. I think that it's breaking down now that we're in a tribal moment and there is no like, oh, here's the thing that we all agree on, and those are the thing that gets moved forward. The very second it's being brought to you by the other side, it's the devil incarnate. We could never do that. Like, we can't be seen as being on their team. People have called me a Trump apologist. They're now calling you a Trump apologist, but you also get accused of being a communist. It's like, it's madness. When I look at the comments on my video, which we'll talk about later for the tax thing, it's like everybody is trying to filter the world into friend, not friend. I forget who it was. Forgive me, because it's someone who's in the feed all the time. And they were like, wake up, Tom, destiny is not your friend. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? So it doesn't matter if destiny is for or against me. He is able to help me see the world from a radically different point of view. And the fact that I can sit down with him and have a civil conversation and enjoy my time with him, like that is how humans operate. That's how you get something done. It does not need to be somebody that you agree with top to bottom. It doesn't need to be somebody that you consider a friend, but you're still looking at them going, is there something here? Is there something high utility? Can we be of benefit to each other? Reagan used to talk about this. He's like, we'll be on the Senate floor and I'll be arguing with, whoever, I forget who it was that he had this relationship with, but we'll argue like cats and dogs when we're on the clock, but then we can go have a drink, we can go have a meal. And that sense of like, oh, this is a real person. He's got a family. There's people he loves. Like, he wants what he believes is best for the country. We just don't agree on how we're going to get there. When you have that, when people can break bread, when they can come together, when they can say, okay, we disagree on 80% of this stuff, but these 20%, like bipartisan, no problem, because these are the values that we stand for, that we agree on. Let's move this forward. In a polarized populist moment, all of that ceases to exist and we are spiraling into madness. Now, the reason I say that this brings in a conversation about China is China does not have that problem. Xi will literally kill anybody that disagrees too much, or he'll disappear them, or he'll kidnap them, he'll re-educate them. And the question we're going to have to answer is, are we going to try to out-China China, which would be a mistake? You will lose. Like, that is a guarantee. I'm happy to do a full episode if people want to talk about how that is a guaranteed fail state. Or do you find your way, what I'll say is, back to an American identity? But we do not have a shared American identity right now. And that is absolutely going to make it impossible for us to move forward. So I've been thinking a lot about, okay, like, what am I trying to do? Like, why do I find myself so compelled to engage in politics, culture, world affairs? And the answer is, much like I was able to use social mobility to completely change my life, to change my family's life, all of that. And I'm like, oh, I want to make sure this is available for other people. So when you do it, it's like, I mean, I guess some people have the impulse to pull the ladder up. I do not have that impulse. I'm like, okay, like, let's make sure that everybody has a shot at this. And then when I was such a beneficiary psychologically of the view that people had of what America was back in the 80s, that it set me up to be aggressive, to be entrepreneurial, to realize I could have anything that I wanted. I was going to have to pay a price. There was no doubt about that. But that, like, it just set me up in a way to be so optimistic about my future. And in being optimistic about my future, it just became this guiding light for my life. And I'm like, we have got to get people back to that. And we are so far from that. And everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon of like tribing up. I really want to see if there is any appetite whatsoever. And honestly, I don't give a fuck if there's not. It is going to be the thing that I say. And look, if it ends up being a total waste of time, I'll give it 4 or 5 years. If it ends up being a waste of time, fair enough. But it feels important. So I'm going to be beating that drum. I'm going to give people something that they can think about that is pure execution. It is go, learn, understand, build a worldview that is utility-based, figure out how to deploy this. And right now, the Cory Booker thing is the exact opposite. All of politics. This is not a Cory Booker problem. Trump talks in the exact same way. They all like the other side is evil. But that is going to make us lose to China. So boys and girls, understand. So I'm going up against Tim Sweeney. Okay, that's the CEO of Epic Games. He is a formidable opponent. Do I want to win against him? Yes. But do I trick myself into thinking that he's a moron or that he's evil? No, I do not. I go, what can I learn? What is he doing that I should be looking at and emulating? Where are the missteps so that I can like make space for myself? Xi is that on steroids. People do not understand. There are consequences to losing as a nation. There are consequences. And we have no sense of that. We think that, if China wins, what's the big deal? The big deal is, motherfucker, that they will, all the things that you're angry at America for doing, now imagine that you literally, that stuff, you don't have to like hide it or do it behind the scenes. That's just your MO. Motherfuckers get locked in their apartment for 2 years or whatever, and you arrest them if they open the door. You board their door up. Like you do whatever you have. They're staying in their apartment. So I don't think people understand. If China wins the AI race, that is how you get a totalitarian regime that you just can't get around because the AI is just always there. So this is a high stakes game, man. And people are playing like the good times in America will last forever, and they will not.
So Marusha Dark in the chat said, as someone from New Jersey, I disavow Cory Booker's statements. Government doing nothing is not the gotcha they think it is. Conservatives want to reduce the size of the government. I like Booker generally, but he has massive Trump derangement syndrome at times. In this case, he's crying Hitler about holding the media accountable. They effed around and are mad they're finding out.
But no, I want to fight back. I want to push back on that because I think the crying Hitler thing is the tribal distraction. Because every time we see Cory Booker pop a vein out in his neck, oh, he's just a lefty, he has TDS. Every time we see Trump going crazy, it's, oh, okay, he's the criminal pedophile on the Epstein list. So
I assume you meant PDF file.
A PDF file. Dang it, we got to cut this.
Getting demonetized again.
Mark this G, we can't get hit back-to-back lives. But this is the part that we have to stop dismissing people. Because to your point, Tom, if there's a North Star, if I want to get to the Wizard of Oz, the Emerald City, right? I might not like the lion, but the lion's going to help me get from point A to point B. I might not like the Tin Man. The Tin Man's not my brother. I don't have to get married to the Tin Man. The Tin Man doesn't have to change their gender. But I at least have to be with the Tin Man for the, you know what I mean? Like, we lost this. Let's just get in the car. I'll drive later, but at least you'll take me to the bus stop.
Here's the thing, Drew, I am telling you right now, the earliest realization I had in business. So imagine, I know nothing about business. But I really want to be a filmmaker. And I become convinced I have to get rich to become a filmmaker. And so I'm just in there every day. How am I going to pull this off? How am I going to do this? And I'm looking around at everybody acting a fool. Like, if the cat's away, the mice will play. People relaxing when the bosses were gone. And I was just like, some people need to be chased by a lion. Like, they have no sense of like, my life may not go where I want it to go. And I had such a palpable, because it had already gone where I didn't want it to go. I was at like the film school of film schools. I was the Harvard of film schools. I really thought I was going to graduate into the studio system, and that was going to be that. Next Spielberg, it's a wrap. And I graduated to selling insurance door to door and not being able to pay my bills at the same time. And I was like, oh shit. No cell phones, no YouTube, like just different world. How the hell am I going to break in? And so it just became abundantly clear to me. These people are not afraid. And because they think everything is going to come easy, they are not going, I do this thing and it has this outcome that either is or isn't the outcome that I want, and I need to adjust. But I didn't really understand what I was on at that moment. Now, whatever, almost 30 years later, when you almost can't like really fail, like imagine you can get like I'm not saying it happens every day, but bro, you can get like a fleece blanket if you're homeless. Like it might be dirty, but you still got a fucking fleece blanket. You're in a city where you can just lay a tent out. You can get a tent as a homeless person. So when that's like your worst, all of a sudden it's people they do not have the clarity of thought to say, we have a very formidable opponent that is focused, they're driven, they're determined, and if we don't play to win, and if we don't raise our kids to play to win, we will lose. And losing will have tremendous consequences. It's a problem.
This makes me want to jump into the Sydney Sweeney thing, because I thought we were just talking about jeans. I thought it was going to be a bunch of titty jokes, and then we were just going to get out of it. Like it's
There's
Sydney
some
Sweeney.
of those in the chat.
Yeah, like that's what I thought this whole thing was going to be. And I seen Cenk Uyghur's tweet, and I was like, wait, like people are really upset about this. And then
Dude,
that's when I went down the rabbit hole.
I was going to say, if you haven't gone down the rabbit hole, it is wild. The number of people like legitimately, because I thought, okay, this is going to be obscure where it's like you hear people saying, oh, people are saying it's Nazi propaganda, but then you can't find it.
Yeah, exactly.
This was like reel after reel after reel after reel of people saying this is Nazi propaganda, like actual Nazi propaganda. What? You got to play the commercial. Surely people have seen.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's start at the commercial. That would be a good place to start, because I have the one with the lady. I have all the blue haired TDS videos pulled up. I actually had pulled the commercial. Hold on.
There it is.
Here it is.
Sydney Sweeney has very keen.
This is a really short one. So the one that has everybody up in arms is her basically on the floor, zipping up her jeans, describing how jeans with a G works.
Got it.
Oh, here we go.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very keens.
There it is. That is the commercial that has everybody up in arms because of a pun. Yep, play it.
Don't forget to boycott American Eagle for their racist shit online, talking about blue jeans and white people. Boycott American Eagle. Boycott the shit out of them. Boycott American Eagle. Do not buy them. And cancel this person, Miss Sweeney. Cancel for her being racist, for doing Nazi propaganda. Cancel American Eagle.
Okay, listen. It is not one person posting about that. Here we go. Here's another one.
Is making fascist propaganda like this? Probably not, but it's still really shocking. Like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white woman is talking about her good genes.
Okay, hold on. We have to talk about this white person thing. So, yeah, like, okay, listen, say that again.
It said spoken by white people. Both of them are white.
Yes,
like, this is racist.
but that we'll get to, because that's like another layer of this very bizarre onion. All of this stuff is a narrative problem. It is a narrative problem, a narrative problem, a narrative problem. There is a phenomenal Shakespeare quote. There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. You only see 0.0035% of the electromagnetic spectrum. You think you see everything you don't. Your brain is shorthanding everything. And we live inside of this simulation. The simulation made by your brain, the simulation requires narrative. You have to explain the thing to yourself. And so you're constantly telling yourself a story about yourself. Now, I am here to tell you right now as a PSA, your life, the quality of your life will be entirely dictated by the narrative you tell yourself about yourself. That's it. It's going to control everything. Everything is downstream of what you believe is possible. This is why I call the only belief that matters, the only belief that matters. The only belief that matters is if I put time and energy into getting better at something, I will actually get better. From that one belief, everything else changes. Because if you don't believe that, then you're always on the back foot. Life is about playing the hand of cards that you were dealt. If you can get better, then it's like, I can make a new game, I could get a new hand of cards, I can do whatever I want. And the way that your behaviors will cascade down from that decision, and it is a decision, that decision that you make about which of those two things is true is wild. There is a Einstein quote where he says, the most important decision any man will ever make is whether he lives in a friendly or a hostile universe. And what I love is, as he said, it is a decision. Now, what they're all trying to get at is it's a narrative. You're going to tell yourself a story. We have started telling ourselves a story about Europeans, about white people, about America that is all bad all the time from top to bottom. And good luck pointing to any culture where you are not going to find horrors upon horrors. What you will find, though, are people that tell them an empowering story about their culture and people who tell themselves a disempowering narrative about their culture. And America is destroying itself because we have allowed to take hold a disempowering narrative. There's just no way around that. Yeah, you can't do that. We are going to have to start telling ourselves a story about who we are as a country, which I find far more interesting than as a race. But as Douglas Murray pointed out, do you really want to back white people into group identity? Does that really, like, history doesn't show you enough that game doesn't play out well? It is so dumb to back groups into race-based identities. Any group can do it, and it's just as stupid when they do it. I'm telling you, read about Xi Jinping. You just see how this is like behind the scenes. He's like, okay, we have to, first of all, propaganda is a must. Second, we have to tell a cultural narrative. He doesn't say regardless of truth, but that's his punchline. Regardless of truth, that makes people feel good about China, that makes them understand that we are basically heaven mandated to be the center of the world. And when you raise kids believing the Chinese are mandated by God to be the center of the universe, that's a lot more uplifting than raising kids telling them, you're evil. You've done bad things throughout history. And like, it's sort of an original sin thing. It can't be washed away. Sorry. Like, which of those two people is going to grow up to do awesome shit? If you overcome the you're a bad person narrative, it's because you finally just go, I'm going to lean into it. Yeah. I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to be more like evil than the most evil so that I can feel good about it. I am the one who knocks, to make a reference to Breaking Bad. You get that person, okay? That's no fun. Or you get the person that's like, damn, like I don't feel good. It's somebody else's turn. And now you lose entire crops of people who are not pushing, trying to be better, who are not trying to do the very thing that evolution has set us up to do, which is to see how far can we take our own abilities. And man, if people don't think that that is going to have catastrophic consequences, they are out of their minds.
And then it gets there. Well done. Then it gets frustrating because then you see the Calvin Klein ad from the 80s and Brooke Shields did the same thing. So you can tell that this was a reboot of an ad and people don't even realize they're getting mad at a redone ad.
Life lies hidden in the genetic code. Genes are fundamental in determining the characteristics of an individual and passing on these characteristics to succeeding generations. Occasionally, certain conditions produce a structural change in the gene, which will bring about the process of evolution. This may occur in one or more of the following ways. Firstly, by selective mating, in which a single gene type proves superior in transmitting its genes to future generations. Secondly, by gene drift, in which certain genes may fade away.
Okay, this ad admittedly has issues in my mind. She's 15 when she filmed this, but they're talking about beauty. They're not talking about race. You could put Beyonce in that ad. Hey, she is beautiful. What does it matter that she's not white? This is about being attractive. This is about, some people are more beautiful than others. I hate to break it to all of us, myself included, but that's just the way it goes. That is the way it goes. But if we're going to tell ourselves the narrative that we are bad people for being white, this is not going to play out well. This is really stupid.
Look at all the creeps trying to take back their comments. She's 15. They're trying to go back and delete. I see. I see
15,
you guys.
15.
I see you guys. It's
Dude,
late.
models-
Can't hide the boners anymore.
Models to this day are young.
Yeah, it's a bad look.
Young.
It's a bad look.
So
There's something that, and Bellafina, I think you're capturing this greatly. So I'm saying this out of curiosity, not out of accusation. I'm just trying to understand. Bellafina said, as a person of color, it is reinforcing Eurocentric beauty standards hits at Eugenics. I'm a Mexican American in Los Angeles and I shop at AE, and the messaging of the ad was negative because it reinforced Eurocentric beauty standards and is a dog whistle for eugenic propaganda.
false. Absolutely false. Here's the thing. White people are beautiful too. So I'm not sure what our beef is. Sydney Sweeney has captured culture. She is not some no-name person that no one had ever heard of and they put her on. She has gotten famous because she has a particular body type, very large breasts, narrow waist. There is an evolutionary algorithm jammed into the brain of men, not white men, men, that make her appealing. And so people are going to respond. And you are going to find people that respond to women of all colors when they hit a certain evolutionary signaling like group of traits. They are not hard to identify. Hip to waist ratio is like roughly the same across all cultures in terms of what people find beautiful because it is a signal of fertility. Symmetry of face is a signal of good genes and also a lack of parasites, as parasites can cause people to, when they develop slightly off. So these are all signals that we have been designed to pick up on. Like you could see the most quote unquote beautiful octopus, and I like to believe none of you would find it attractive because we do not have an evolutionary algorithm to find octopi attractive. But we do for females, women, humans. Why? Because we have to know what the cue is to be like, breed with that one. People may not want that to be true, but that is true. And when we start going, when one race does it, that this is like race and eugenics and all that. I honestly, I woke up to this so late. I literally had none of this was happening. I didn't know any of this was happening beneath the surface of culture until Black Lives Matter popped off. And then I was like, it felt like waking up from a coma. I was like, what has happened? So yeah, from as an outsider to this phenomena, who just was not raised with any of this, who was not sort of privy to the transition as culture changed, this is so jarring and scientific in terms of its understanding of what men respond to. It is.
Have you heard about like Eurocentric beauty standards? Somebody else asked me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Great.
But the principle that what we deem as beautiful is curated depending on the culture you're from. Whereas what we call a pretty woman in America will look different than what that would be in Tanzania.
Bro, but by how much? It is not going to be like
as
wild.
As an
You're
American,
going to have rough hip to waist ratios are going to be similar. They've done this study like 1,000 times.
I'm surprised at that.
Yep. Please, regardless of what people find attractive, like that hourglass figure is everywhere. You'll see it fluctuate in different time periods because culture has an influence. But dude, there are some things that remain so steady. Breasts are always going to be appealing. Cleavage is through the ages the very thing that people like. Look at art. You're going to see it over and over and over and over. It's just there are certain proportions that people are drawn to. It is an evolutionary cue. There's this whole thing called peak shift. This is why women get large breasts or now big fake butts. They are fertility cues that we exaggerate because it squeezes something in the brain. Now, we went from big breasts being the thing to big butts being the thing, but you'll notice we have not gone to big feet being the thing. Now, why aren't big feet the thing? Why do people feet bind? Because it's a signal of your estrogen levels. And if you have high estrogen levels, you're going to have small feet. You are more likely to be able to bear children. Same thing with hip ratio. When you get hips that are too narrow, you're going to have a hard time having kids. So that's not going to be the person that's going to be peak beauty standard because it's not peak fertility. So it's like, dude, when you just start running the backwards math of like, how did we end up here? It's like, if you grew up around in a village in Tanzania, you're going to find the local girl hot. That's what you grew up with. That's what you know. That's the girl that you spend all your time staring at, ogling. And so, yes, there are going to be local cues that you might be more into than somebody else. You might have local things like the lip banding and the neck rings and stuff like that that are specific to that culture that all fits within that malleability area for sure. We are 50% hardwired and 50% malleable. So there's no doubt that you can nudge people in a direction and you can get people to be into things they might not otherwise be into. But anything that sends a signal that says I'm not fertile, it's game over, right? You're never going to see American Eagle have their most successful ad campaign of all time unless demographics flip and only old people exist. You're not going to have 75-year-olds in the ads. Like, you'll see that occasionally when they're trying to speak to people of that generation. But even then, you're going to try to get the one that looks the best. You're not going to get the one that looks fucking raggedy. So I just like, dude, this is, everybody is getting sucked into something that is so detrimental to their life, to their kids' life. You need a narrative that says, hey, whatever team you're on, like if you're from Bulgaria, you need to find the vision for why Bulgaria is dope. Otherwise, get the fuck out of Bulgaria. Like the way that people are thinking about this is so asinine. You are in a Realpolitik world. You are in a might makes right universe. If you want your values to be protected, you better have a strong team.
So
okay, hold on. Let me be devil's advocate here,
because
everybody's waiting for me. Everyone's like, "What does a black person have to think about this?" The fact that she said blonde hair, blue eyes, that doesn't trigger anything. Just with all the Nazi sympathizers and all the revisionist history about like Hitler and eugenics and things like that. So if she would have said my hourglass shape, my big boobs, Brooke Shields is talking about her sex appeal and like the broader implications of her beauty. But Sydney Sweeney did say blonde hair, blue eyes, which is like the 1 and 2 of like.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Because that was the whole like perfect race. Like, yes,
great.
Blonde hair,
so
blue
there
eyes.
was a psychopath one day that was like, let's say that he was upset. Do you know what calipigian is? Mm-mm. Okay, it's that big ass, like that sway out big ass that's so popular right now. Actually has a name. Let's say
who names asses. Can I get that job? How do I be an assologist that names
an assologist? We need that as a sound.
What? Okay, my bad.
That as a sound. Okay, so if you have a psychopath that's like, I really like that a large behind, right? Very popular right now for Schways. You get some people, even before it became popular in the US, in Brazil, it was like all the rage. If you had somebody that was like, that's the perfect thing, and then almost 100 years later, somebody was like, hey, let's put her in a bikini or a pair of jeans and be like, she's got great genes. Yeah, she has great genes. That's why people find that body type attractive. They found that body type attractive for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years beforehand. And they will find it attractive. Well, forget it. That the future is unknown at this point. But looking back, that is for sure. I think this comes from people believe in the blank slate hypothesis, and they really think that we don't have innate desires or tendencies, that we're just whatever culture makes of us. Now, if you believe that, then it's like, oh my God, like to propagate the idea that blonde hair and blue eyes is attractive to some people is, yeah, you're pushing people down a lane, and I can never be that. And so that sucks. But the reality is that there is going to be a type of person that's really attracted to that. There's going to be a type of person that's really attracted to Beyonce. There's going to be a type of person that's really attracted to whatever. But there are evolutionary reasons why you can't run an ad with a cow wearing jeans and getting people excited about it. We just don't have the triggers to find that body type attractive. This is also why you can make a cartoon erotic. How do you do it? With shapes, man. With shapes. You just use shapes. They are fucking pencil lines on a piece of paper, but by using shapes that are just ingrained into our brains, it sparks something. It squeezes a region of the brain that makes you go towards it. All right, we got to get off this topic. We got to keep it moving, boys and girls. We here at the Tom Bilyeu Show have a tendency to spend an hour on a single topic. We're going to keep chugging. Let's go.
Two super chats, one on topic, one off topic. If we
that would be the
Brutus Lugo, I'm not playing dumb.
Okay, so Techno Shaman said, honestly, people who are getting upset might just be signaling low IQ. She is objectively attractive. The first time in a long time where an attractive white person advertised to a heterosexual normative audience. If I can speak.
Yeah. And I mean, look, making a big deal of this on the other side is also a mistake. We've got to find a way for everybody, especially because this company's called American Eagle. There was one video, we didn't show it, but there's one video where the woman goes, well, I don't think any of us should be surprised. Of course, a company called American Eagle would be doing these Nazi signals. Fuck that. Like, what? America is not a racist nation. Like, that is absurd. And if you want to go back and say, oh, we were founded on slavery, welcome to telling the worst conceivable story about our country. It's true and stupid, because that is just going to create further divide. It's going to make people feel alienated. And we've got to find a way to bring it together. Like, tell an empowering story about that, hey, we had an evil system that was everywhere in the world. We fought a bloody war to end it. Okay, also true. Now, I get it. You are selectively saying, I'm not going to pay attention to an element of the horrors over here because it is not useful in terms of making sure that we function well in the world. Remember, all of this context is because we are in a Cold War with China. If we do not play our cards right, we will be in a kinetic war with China, or we will be, I hate to use the word subservient, but like, you're not going to have a good time. So, man, I just, people look at the world in a way that I do not understand. I do not understand. This is a world where people fight, kill, murder for resources. That is the world that you are in right now. So we've got to find a way to tell a story where Americans are like, word, we are the best. And by the way, if you're in England, you got to tell a story about England. England's the best. If you're in Yugoslavia, Yugoslavia is the best. Whatever. Okay? But you've got to find a way to tell a good story. You have to. This is ridiculous.
The one thing about this that hits me sideways is you were talking about her body shape is attractive, but then especially coming from the fitness industry previously, like body shape is more built than genetic. And since the argument...
Who said that? I do not grant you that statement.
Okay, that's interesting. Now
you
it's
can
more
sculpt
changeable,
the body,
though, than your eye color.
Yeah, but good luck, minus surgery, if you're a woman, moving fat around your body. You were too young to remember what happened when Madonna came out post like 20s, where there's a certain type of fat that only young women have. I forget the name. There's a name for it. And as they get older, they lose that type of fat. It's the sexy fat. Like if you've ever looked at a woman and thought, oof, because she's got like a little bit of squish, it's a certain type of fat. It is distributed on her hips, on her butt, like it goes in certain places, and they lose that. So Madonna, realizing, like that fat has gone, she got yoked. And when she came back, people had a stroke. This was in the probably mid 90s. And people just absolutely lost their minds. And we're like, this is unattractive. This is so gross. There we go. And the reality is that you can sculpt that kind of body. But minus surgery, once that fat type is gone, it's gone.
That makes sense. But with the eugenics argument, they say Sydney Sweeney has good genes. And then she says, my genes are blue. The blue eye color is unchangeable.
She's not talking about fucking her eyes.
Right.
This is a play on her.
The point is,
pants.
though, like it's a great pun, but then given that you are drawing that line with a pun and it's meant to be something else, would you even be like, well, the marketing department should choose a better pun?
No, the marketing department knows we're going to all talk about it endlessly. The marketing department are geniuses. Kudos to American Eagle for having the guts to do it, because they are either an epic level of stupid, or they understood, ooh, this is going to light the left on fire. Now, I don't think in their wildest dreams they could have prayed for this much coverage, but come on, this is what marketing departments do. So now you can make the argument that the Let Her Cook WNBA one was maybe not ideal, but also that I'm sure they had conversations about like, well, some people might read it like this, and they said, yeah, cool, they'll talk more about it. So that would be my take on that. So
Gotcha.
All right, we got to move on.
Super chat. Marusha Dark said, woke right equals identity politics that favor cis whites, straights, and men. Woke left equals identity politics that favor trans, blacks, gays, and women. That's all it means. People overthink it. James Lindsay explains it badly.
Yeah, woke left and right are both problematic. And almost certainly what we're going to be talking to Dave Rubin about.
Yeah, that's coming up today.
There we go. Yes, it is. Okay, next topic, Drew.
Yeah, we have to talk about this like EU deal. I've been holding off talking about it because I wanted to see what actually like happens. Because I remember the UK, they announced something, but they had to sign and finalize some things. But Trump got another investment. Let's go to Fox News and get the announcement.
So those things are 750 billion, 600 billion, opening up the country. We are agreeing that the tariff straight across for automobiles and everything else will be a straight across tariff of 15%. So we have a tariff of 15%. We have the opening up of all of the European countries, which I think I could say were essentially closed. I mean, you weren't exactly taking our autos, you weren't exactly taking our agriculture, and then you would have smaller things, but for the most part it was closed. And now it's open. It's open for our companies to go in and do a good job with it. I think you'll like them. I think you'll like it.
I think you'll like it. 15% across the board. So that's UK, EU down. We talked about a deal with Japan. We had some other deal for smaller Asian countries. So we're getting through the bingo board, but the big one, China, is still kind of missing. We still haven't heard anything.
Yeah, until you lock in China. But EU's big. So he's certainly, I think, begrudgingly getting a lot of credit for this one. He has basically opened the entire EU market to us and gotten them to, with virtually no tariffs whatsoever, and gotten them to agree to paying tariffs on sending stuff to us. So this one is very one-sided. It's a pretty big win. So you can't knock that. Now, again, the whole game is China. So we shall see. And some people in the chat are so curious as to why I'm obsessed with China, man. I have tried to express myself over and over and over. Sorry, Mike, if you feel like he's a troll. People are saying I'm feeding the trolls. I just like whoever's got the most direct criticism. I'm here.
You're here. Tom came ready to fight again.
I think it's the only way at this point. It is the only way because I, to have respect for myself, I need to be willing to fight for the next generation. I think part of this is I feel like because I don't have kids, I need to do something to contribute. So anyway, there it is. Yunagamo! My wife is in the feed, everybody.
Shout out to Lisa. Hey, Lisa.
And we now have a Chinese sister-in-law. Like, grew up in China, I have a Chinese accent sister-in-law. So just remind everybody.
Slavery, I have a Chinese accent like sister-in-law. Like,
yeah, that's very different than like she grew up in England, but happens to be heritage British. Yeah. That was a phrase that I learned this weekend. Heritage American, I think. And I was like, oh, why does that sound so bad? But yeah. So anyway, she is Chinese and lovely. You could not ask for a better person.
Yeah, I see a lot of people are talking about the increase in cost that this will eventually lead to.
It could.
Kevin O'Leary kind of grounded it when we talked about the VAT tax example, and I think that is something that helps.
Well, okay, so let's look at the good and the bad. So the way that a VAT tax works is the government is saying that, like, if you're making a leather jacket, that you get the raw goods. The raw goods is bought by the person that tans the hide or whatever. And so they did a thing to add value to the leather that you got from the cow. So they're going to pay a tax, the value added tax. You were taxed on the value that you add. Because let's say that you bought the rawhide for $50, but you double its value by tanning it. So now it's worth $100. So you're going to get taxed on the $50 increase. So every step, somebody adds a button. How much did the button add? They get taxed. So it's a way for the government to make sure that they get their piece, whether or not you end up selling it in the retail store or not. Mm-hmm. So now everybody gets to reclaim the step before them. But anyway, they end up getting their roughly, call it 10% of the value that was added to the object at the time of sale. They've been getting it all along the way. And the reason that people get weird about a value-added tax, the reason that we have avoided doing it, is it's a consumption tax. Consumption taxes are going to hurt the middle class and the poor the most because they have the biggest, everything that they buy is a bigger portion of the amount of money that they have. So it's like we've always shied away from that. But we've gotten to the point now where people understand if you keep taxing the rich, you're actually going to take in less tax. That's wildly unpopular, but it's just mathematically true. So people can squawk and squeal all they want. But what will happen is just, hey, it's on repeat. It happens in history over and over and over and over. And the only way to stop it is to put capital controls. And when you put capital controls, you kill your desirability. So if you want to look at the countries that have done it, people stop investing. So that's even dumber. But hopefully we don't go down that path. Okay, so we have wanted to avoid a value-added tax because it's a consumption tax. But the good news about a tariff-based consumption tax is it is almost always shared between the exporter and the importer. So people always think, well, the price is just going to be passed on to the customer directly, and it's usually not true. First of all, both sides will absorb as much as they can because they set their price for a reason. So they'll absorb as much as they can. So you really are getting it from the business. So people that have beef, I don't understand because you want businesses to be taxed more. Well, here it is. And then the consumer will possibly take a slight increase, but they only pay that increase if they want to buy the good. So there are certain goods where you'd be up in arms if you're being charged a tax on. So essentials. That's why you want to make essentials in your own country so that you can avoid that. And then if somebody prefers the thing from the country, well, then you accept. I'm willing to pay this premium on this thing. And if you're not, you've got your option there in country. And this is why globalism, it hurts to go from globalism to protectionist. Going from protectionist to globalist, which will happen again in whatever, 30 or 40 years. So hang tight. But going this way sucks, but you do need to reshore some of your manufacturing so that you can stop having the tariffs. But this is the game. So it won't be just entirely passed on to people. That's the punchline.
Yeah. And we have had reports now that that tariff number is at 160 billion, money that we have been coming in through this. So for money that wasn't there at the beginning of the year, and that has been generated through these actions, although aggressive and without our biggest trade partners, so we can only see that number going up, that is looking promising if that could be a sustainable amount. And just like you said in the tax video, like the amount that people are actually paying in income tax isn't nearly as much as we think.
Dude,
So
it is wild. The bottom 50% only pay 3% of tax.
It's crazy.
Say that one more time. The bottom 50% only pay 3% of the total taxes taken in by the U.S. government. 3. I was shocked by that. That is wild.
Yeah.
Now, that also speaks to the horrifying inequality. So I do not want anybody to think that I've somehow changed my tune. Inequality is not only terrible for people, terrible for the country, it's dangerous. It kills social mobility. Like, it is literally bad from top to bottom. When inequality gets this bad, there's no benefit to point to. So you have to find your way out of this. We all know my stance. No more money printing, no more debt. Or very little. 3%.
Okay, we were talking about this off camera. And this kind of shifts to like tariffs and social mobility. But I'm thinking now of almost global mobility and how, you know, you're from a worldly family. People in Britain, they come to the U.S. People from Greece came to Britain.
As a side note, that was one of the most glorious things about going to this wedding. Traveling, multicultural. Yeah. It's dope, man. Yeah. This is why I love being in America. But we got to find that unifying narrative. Anyway, marriage brings people together in a beautiful way.
Yeah, but seeing like that the world is bigger, that there are other industries, other cultures, other societies, and things like that. Just in general, is there a way that we can increase global mobility? And I'm trying very hard not to sound
in
like,
this moment.
Yes, like
no.
It's just because we have to get through this moment. That's not a release valve we can let go. Like
the only way for me to stay sane and to step in front of a camera is to understand that the things that I say now will take a generation to play out. If I keep my eyes set on that, which is the very thing I'm trying to get America to do, you are up against a formidable foe worthy of your respect that thinks in 20, 30 year increments. and they're constantly dialoguing behind the scenes because it's just the political party. They talk to each other. I mean, there's thousands of people, but they communicate, okay, look, this is what the next 10 years is. And then after that, we're going to do this for the next 10 years. And so they've got these really long reaching visions that they just plan for and then they execute. And so what I want people to start doing is contribute in a way where you will plant a tree under whose shade you will never sit. While I would love to live an extraordinarily long life and sit under all these trees that I'm planting, I'm okay if I don't. I want to help every country find their mojo, but obviously, because I live in America, I want to see America get its mojo back. And we have to understand that when you're raising a kid, they're going to be a 3-year-old. And there's nothing to do about that. You got to go through the terrible 2s. You got to let them throw tantrums in their 3s, right? To get to the 7 and 8, where it's like really kind of beautiful for just a second. And then they get to 13 and they are going to reject you. It is known before it happens. Mm-hmm. They're going to reject you. And then they're 25 and they're going to come back and they're going to realize if you raised them well and you weren't abusive, blah, 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 they're going to realize, whoa, you were right about a lot of things. Thank you for giving me this platform. So this is all predictable. Mm-hmm. Populism is predictable. Inequality is predictable. Like, this is a math equation. Mm-hmm. The debt makes it impossible. It creates the wild inequality, which people can see. So that makes them feel bad. We're wired to hate that. It also makes social mobility very difficult. And so when you have moments of tremendous debt, tremendous inequality, you are going to end up in a populist moment. When you're in a populist moment, everybody is on a tribe. Everybody thinks they're fighting for their lives. And the only way to unwind that is by austerity and a whole beautiful deleveraging. But the part that everybody can't swallow is the austerity part. So you have to go into austerity, which means you just give people less money, which means, yes, some people that you don't want to have to see go to work, they're going to have to go to work. Some people are going to struggle. Some people are going to lose their house. They're going to be homeless. Yep. That is what ends up happening when you get into this dire circumstance. Now, I wish that this were avoidable. History has proven it's just not. If money can be printed, you will find yourself here. The way back out is unfortunately just as predictable. Look at what's going on in Argentina. He's literally going, oh, you look back at 500 years of history, we know how to get out of this. People don't want to do it, but we know what to do. And then he is just, Milei is just running the playbook and it's working. It's wild. So all of this is all physics of money stuff. So I don't think there is any way for us to be like, hey, let's try to be globalist again right now. Yeah. Right now is not a globalist moment. Right now is protectionist. People are mad.
They're down, yeah.
Yep, people are mad. The world really is rigged against them, and they're going to unrig it, no matter what they have to blow up, destroy, no matter who they have to kill. And so that like sense of, ooh, we have to go through this. Like, I don't think there's a magic sequence of words that I can utter to save adults. I'm back on this is all about the kids. So one, I'm trying to reach the 2% of adults that are actually swayable, in my opinion. And then I want to do something for the next generation. And then the next generation, I hope, will just grow up being like, this is an amazing place. Yeah. I can control my destiny, but I have to work very hard if I'm going to do it. That the human existence, the reason that we became the most dominant apex predator the world has ever seen is because I can get better at something. And so, I'm the ultimate adaptation machine. Got it. I have to put myself in a position where I'm going to adapt. Mm-hmm. And you're going up against Chinese kids that work around the clock, literally around the clock. And so seriously, you either want it or you don't.
I was in the islands this past weekend for a wedding, and I just thought that it was so interesting. One, global perspective, getting out of your bubble. I encourage everybody to at least leave America once. At the very minimum, you can see what other countries that you think are perfect, actually how they live. It was very interesting to me though, because there's a lot of people that I love that are close to me in my like immediate friend group and stuff like that. Many of my friends out here who have creative endeavors, but they just like to chill. They don't like, they want to create leisurely. They want to live a life. They want to relax. They want to smoke their weed, sit on their porch and sway. And then I'll go across the world to like a Caribbean island and see people who are living their life exactly like that. So there is a level of like, you don't necessarily have to opt in to the rat race, the grind, like not everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Not everybody has to do these things to try to stay ahead. Not everybody has to compete with China. But you do have to realize that in this country, there are certain things that you have to do. And it just comes with like the order of operations. Like
everything's a trade-off.
Yeah.
So when I haven't been to St. Lucia.
Yeah.
I haven't been to St. Lucia, but I've been to other islands. And you get there and you're like, oh, trash infrastructure. You're entirely dependent on tourism. But like, if you're okay with trash infrastructure and having the house that was built in the colonial era and it's like falling apart, but you're perfectly fine and it's beautiful and it's warm and you're chill, great. You can have whatever life you want. But everything is a trade-off. There is no utopia. America is not perfect. China is not perfect. Europe is not perfect. St. Lucia is not perfect. So it's like, if you want that laid back Caribbean vibe, then go to the Caribbean. You're going to find it. If you want to like make a name for yourself and have your name echo through the annals of history, then, I mean, until recently, even now, to be fair, you went to America. You go to New York. Like, I don't know if he was from St. Lucia. I can't remember what island, but certainly from the Caribbean, Alexander Hamilton was like, I got to get out of here. Like, this is a backwards place. I'm never going to be able to do anything with my life. So I'm going to, and I think he did get shipwrecked. I'm just going to go to America, no matter how risky that is, because there I've got a shot. There you can rise up. It's a meritocracy. And so, listen, I mean, the American experiment has to face a reality, which is that for hundreds of years, we put out a call to everybody in the world that this is where you come to prove your mettle. But over time, you're going to raise kids. And like, if you really want to freak yourself out, go trace the lineage of the Rothschilds. You will very fast go, oh yeah, even they couldn't keep all their kids together. Like, it's just, some of them are just going to be like, oh, this is gross. Like, I don't want to be a Rothschild. So yeah, like, America, not all of the heritage Americans. I don't know if that's a good word or a bad word. I don't know if that has connotations.
Is that good genes? The good gene Americans?
It's definitely not good genes. It is certainly lineage. But people that are, generation after generation after generation here, you're going to have a massive proliferation of people who they don't buy into the American experiment. And so we are getting farther and farther and farther and farther from that. And so we're not as far behind Europe as I would expect us to be, but we're watching that playbook play out, where Europe, same thing, right? So all through the like wolves are knocking at the door phase, Europe was like tough. They wouldn't stop killing each other, but they were at least battle hardened. They were ready for it. The Mongols, battle hardened. They were ready for it. China, to a large extent, battle hardened, ready for it. Japan, same thing. Mongols couldn't even conquer the Japanese. But then it's like, you get to a point where it's like, that's just not our culture anymore. That's not what we're reinforcing. And once you stop reinforcing it, the culture softens, the people are different, the policies change, and you get what you get.
Nice. And that brings us to our deep dive from Monday. So if you guys haven't checked it out, Tom did a whole deep dive about income tax, who really pays taxes, what is fair share, how we should divvy up the tax pie. It's definitely interesting. Go check it out. But there are some comments that we wanted to share that definitely stood out. So excuse my copy and paste. I did this on an Excel spreadsheet. But Martin Steinman 3747 said, we know that trickle down does not work. So why do you still argue for it? This is trickle down.
Okay, yeah. So first of all, I did not argue for trickle down economics, but he is wrong in the sense that you will get more investments into companies, products, job creation when you reduce taxes. That's just a fact, repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over. When you simultaneously globalize, you don't get to take advantage of it. And so, yeah, when you run the policies that we ran, there are consequences. So this is why, like, for the middle class ends up getting split in half. Here's why the middle class disappears. I think everybody thinks that the middle class just becomes broke. They don't. Half of the middle class goes up, half of the middle class goes down. That's what hollows out the middle class. So in your calling it trickle down economics, they were just trying to sell it to the people. So set that aside for a second. When you overtax the wealthy, they stop creating, jobs go away, the whole GDP contracts. Okay, just that's been played out over and over and over and over and over and over and over. It's just that's what's going to happen. If you don't regulate at all, then capital will abuse the people. We've seen that over and over and over. That's the Gilded Age. Okay, very different reason because they weren't printing money, but that's what you see. When you overregulate, then you get social democracy, which is stagnation, leads to socialism, which is basically communism on the installment plan, which is, we all know. No bueno. So it becomes a question of how do you keep your capitalistic society, which is the only system that has ever proven to work. I will remind everybody, what did China do when they realized, oh, communism starves everybody to death? They went, we got to go to capitalism. And I always forget his name, Deng Xiaoping. It's close to that. Someone in the feed will know. But he said, it doesn't matter if the cat is black or white as long as it catches mice. Meaning, I'm trying to make sure that all of the people in my country can eat. And we thought that that was going to be communism, but that cat didn't catch mice. So cool. We're going to use what I call red light, green light capitalism, where it's like you can be capitalistic, but you're going to do so in service of the government. So you can do whatever you want until we step in and say, but now do this. And so in that way, it's a little like marriage. You can be reasonable and sensible all you want, but if your wife comes in and says, you got to be crazy on this one to back me up, then every now and then you got to be crazy. And so that's red light, green light capitalism. And look, what China has done is unbelievable. I don't want to live in that system because you have no individual rights. Anything can be taken from you, including your life. But it's pulled more people out of poverty than any other system. So it's like capitalism with a Chinese twist has pulled more people out of poverty even than capitalism, at least in a short amount of time. Maybe over time, not as many, but in the rapid amount of time. But it's still capitalism. It's still saying we're going to let people get disproportionate rewards. And that's the part that people hate. And when I was talking to my sister-in-law about like what it's like in China, she was saying, look, the equality in China reminds me, the inequality in China reminds me of the inequality in America. It's very extreme. Yeah, because you're going to let people reap disproportionate rewards. That's the only way to get them to work around the clock. So there was an old quote in Russia that says, they'll pretend to pay us and we'll pretend to work. And that's how you lose the Cold War. You're just not competitive because people don't have the incentive.
Team Lori said, Tom knows that AI is about to flip the table. However, he forgets that almost any time he talks about any other topic.
So I think that when you're talking about economics, you need to talk about the here and now. We can always talk about AI. It's one of my favorite subjects of all time, but there's so many unknowns for us to act like, oh, we can put policies in place now that we know this is how it's going to play out with AI. The only thing I know is that AI won't play out the way that we expect it to. It might play out like in a similar sort of vein, like an age of abundance. I think we're either going to be Terminator style enslaved or eradicated, or there will be an age of abundance, or AI just won't be a thing. But if you really have even 1 million, but of course it would be far more than that. But if you had even 1 million people with Einstein's level of intellect, which is like well within reach, and they can work around the clock, 1 million Einsteins, like, or better yet, 1 million Elon Musks working around the clock, bro, the world would be unrecognizable in 5 years. So all you have to do is drive energy costs low, labor then becomes free, and it's an age of abundance. Now, it's going to be a weird period between here and there. So, but the specifics of that, nobody knows because there are going to be surprises along the way.
That leads me to my next comment. Bujin5455 said, this is BS. Even in small tribes, it's not zero sum. If I build a hut, there's one more hut in the world that there used to be. So I just, quote unquote, created value. If I build a second hut for my neighbor, he now also has a hut and maybe he makes a canoe in exchange. Now there's another hut and another canoe. And so the wealth of the tribe has increased even more. This zero sum thinking has nothing to do with historic realities. It has never been true.
Okay, so here's where people get themselves confused. So if you are living in a pre-industrial tribe and you really just have to make sure that people don't starve to death, then you store calories on another person's body. The problem is that your average life expectancy is about 30 years. So this is, if people want to go back to that, but I don't know what they think they're going back to. So these are people that are eating entirely organic and they're still dying. They die of violent deaths. They die of exposure. They die of hunger. Watch a season of Alone and you will very quickly realize that when times get tough, shit is so zero sum, you kill other tribes on sight. So it's like people have this sense of like a mythical thing in the past. So also the idea that, well, I created a hut and now it exists. Think about that. How was the hut created? This is what we call proof of work. So you've got people that help you build that hut. So now if you built it by yourself and someone else comes and lives in it, I'm going to guess you have beef. If a bunch of people help you build that hut and they come and live in it, you have less beef. But it probably works more like the Amish, where it's like, hey, look, I'm going to help you build a hut, and then I expect you to help me build a hut. And that doesn't scale. It's awesome for the tribe, but it doesn't scale. And that's why Dunbar's number exists. You hit about 150 people, and they splinter off. And they go elsewhere in search of their own resources to try their own fortune, to run a different experiment. But yeah, I'm not sure what people see when they look back in the past, but it is not peace. It is conquer, death, rape, mayhem, on a level that is so extraordinary as to be almost impossible to believe.
Okay. Nice. Moving on. Click Rush. There is one simple question that exposes everything that is wrong with current tax systems. Why is labor tax higher than wealth?
Okay, so the reason that labor, they're drawing a weird distinction here, but if you say income and wealth, you'll get closer. So the reason that income and wealth are taxed differently is because wealth isn't real. Wealth isn't real. Wealth is a hypothetical. Income is real. So when you try to tax wealth, this is the part that drives me crazy about someone like Mamdani. What he doesn't understand is, for me to give you the money, dear government, on the wealth that you were taxing me on, I have to break the thing. Mm-hmm. So I have to sell the share. I have to sell my house, whatever. And so now I no longer have that thing. I have some lesser portion of the money, but I no longer have that thing, which means now I'm looking for another asset. So then I buy that asset, but now I'm back in the same position. You're going to tax me. If that asset goes up, you're going to tax me again. And I'll have to break that thing again in order to get you your money. And now an economy cannot grow. So what people should be focused on is what makes the economy grow. When the economy is growing, like if our economy were growing at 4 or 5%, it's the roaring 20s. Nobody's complaining about anything. Everything, it's only up. It's like, if you remember when the stimmy checks were flowing and everybody was like YOLOing into crypto and how like euphoric that moment was, that, I mean, you can get, when an economy is really booming, I mean, you can get that to last years and years because you're getting raises. There's more money coming into the system. Like it is a very good time. That's when everybody's feeling good. That was China over the last, 30 years, man, like absolutely wild. So that should be the goal. But alas, getting there is very, very difficult. So anyway, you can't get there if you're breaking wealth. So you have to tax income because it's the only thing that's already been realized.
There's a beef there, though, where a lot of times people use their wealth as leverage to do other things that avoids the income tax that they would otherwise have to pay.
Correct.
So there is some type of loophole that you think we should need to close where I can borrow against my perceived wealth.
Well, here's an easy one. Tax everybody a flat percentage.
Regardless.
Yeah.
So don't even
no
worry
dodging
about
anything.
Yeah, don't worry about fixing that thing.
You're going to pay.
New fix is throw everything out. Everybody gets this.
Yep. Yeah. Let's say that number is 25%. Mm-hmm. Everybody pays 25%. Doesn't matter. You make $1, you pay 25 cents. You make $1 trillion, you pay whatever, 250 billion. There you go. All done. Nice, simple tax code. You pay 25%. And so your money will be trapped in that asset until you do something with it. And then it's a taxable event. That's why Elon Musk may not pay any meaningful tax again for a decade because he liquidated whatever, I forget how much, but a lot of billions. And so then at that point, it's like he paid a massive amount. He was the biggest taxpayer, I think, in the world ever that year. Jeez. So it's not like they don't pay tax. It's just they don't pay tax every year, or they don't pay any meaningful tax compared to like what they're earning, because so much of executive compensation these days is based on performance, meaning, hey, if I can grow the stock, then I want some of the stock so that I can get paid based on whether or not I perform. But again, they're not going to get taxed until they actually sell that stock, because you can't guarantee that the stock will actually be worth that. The only way to find out is to actually sell it. Once you sell it, you broke it.
Yeah, you broke that. All right. And Sensei J44 said, Tom makes a strong case here, but there's one thing that keeps bothering me. If inflation exploded because of reckless money printing, and asset prices soared as a result. Why didn't wages follow? The truth is, the people who already owned assets were protected or even benefited from inflation, but the rest of us, the one paid in cash instead of stock, fell behind fast.
Facts.
And here's the kicker. Companies didn't adjust wages based on cost of living. They based them on cost of labor. That's not about what it takes to survive. It's about how little they can pay and still fill the job. So even if rent, groceries, gas, and everything else doubled, it didn't matter. They chose to hoard the gains. Workers produced record profits during and after the pandemic, but most of that wealth went to stock buybacks and executive bonuses, not wages. So yes, resentment is real, but it's not just emotional. It's logical when the game is rigged. We need better solutions, not more finger pointing. And part of that means rewriting the rules that let asset holders win by default while workers lose ground year after year.
Drew, do you know what's wild? People are going to complain about prices going up, and they're going to yell and scream that Trump tariffed us into oblivion and he brought all this manufacturing back to the US, and what an idiot, like comparative advantage. This should be done by the people that can do it the best. And like, why are we bringing this back? The very reason that people weren't able to get their wages to go up is because the CFO or the CEO are looking at the books going, oh, we can get this person for cheaper in India or in China or wherever. And so they did. That's why you don't globalize. Or I should say, that's why in a globalizing moment, it benefits the builders, it benefits the wealth holders, the people that own the assets. They fucking love it. Now, as a PSA reminder, anybody can buy into the stock market. So there's no reason for you to isolate yourself from these gains. Everybody has access. But I get it. Most people aren't going to avail themselves of those gains. Fair enough. But then you need to have manufacturing brought back. But that's going to make some things more expensive because you're saying, I would rather have the jobs, I would rather have wages going up than have all of the cheap stuff that we were getting before. You get the cheap stuff because you allow all the builders to go wherever the labor is cheapest. It doesn't make any sense for you to say, pay over market wages. It's like, no one's going to do that. You can't run a business like that. You're going to go up against everybody else who isn't doing that. They're going wherever they can get the cheapest labor, and they will lose. They will go out of business because people vote with their dollars. They want cheap stuff. So this is like where we are mad at ourselves. We're mad at ourselves for who we vote for. We're mad at ourselves for the tax policies we let them pass. We're mad at ourselves that we let them globalize. But ultimately, like, we, the people, are in control. If we think that the people are voting for terrible policy, we need to scream from the rooftops and don't vote for them. This is why I was radicalized by the big, beautiful bill. That was heartbreaking for me. That's when I realized I knew that like both sides will print money, but I honestly held out hope that the Republicans would at least hem it in a bit. Nope.
Maybe break even, maybe, something like that. But
I mean, listen, we're making some money off tariffs. That's great. But like, I don't see any impulse to be fiscally responsible.
Full stop. All right. Those were the questions from the tax video. Again, guys, definitely check it out. It opened my eyes into a lot of things. Sometimes when you do deep dives, I'm like, okay, I know how he's going to take it. But the last two between rent controls and tax, it showed a perspective that I only heard about and didn't have the numbers and figures and stuff to actually back it up. And once you get into that minutia of stuff, you definitely see it in a different way. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Check them out. Check them out. It was 1 out of 10, boys and girls. 1 out of 10 on YouTube. Our latest deep dive. Do not miss it. Are the rich paying their fair share? That is the question that we ask and answer.
There is something for that last question about wages keeping up with inflation and how I think he framed it as the profits were hoarded, like they hoarded the gains as opposed to like passing them down directly. And to your point, in the globalist moment, it's kind of easy to do that. Is that a policy without signaling your top-down authority antenna? Is that something that you think we need to kind of look into to make sure wages stay up? Is like, okay, you have a set number of H-1B ones you can use, or you have to have a certain amount of U.S. citizens on payroll. Like, should we get to that level of...
I wouldn't do it like that, but tariffs are certainly one way to make sure that it's like, okay, like we're going to have to start making some of this stuff here. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out with China. Because if China's like, hey, we're going to tariff the life out of you. Then we'll be like, all right, we've got to make some of this stuff here. I hope that it's done regardless of who's in office based on like, what do we need to be self-reliant? Because right now, having all of our pharmaceuticals made elsewhere, having all of our drones made elsewhere, there's just too many things. Semiconductor, although that is moving back. There's too many things that we absolutely rely on at 1,000 layers of our society that are done elsewhere. We need to bring back the forward-facing critical manufacturing. That alone, I think, would have a very big impact on labor's ability to negotiate, because now all of a sudden it's like we have so many people in the workforce here. Companies don't have the option to go elsewhere. It's like, this is going to be made in America. And when you have that, now you've got people that are in a position where they can actually negotiate their salaries. But when it's like, oh, I can go in the globe, man. Oh, you don't want to do this for this price? No problem. I'll go to Bangladesh. It's like, it's a rough position to be in.
We got a couple things in chat. First off, Amelie Will said, what if pay was based on company income?
There's not going to be any way to do that. It's like, this goes back to capitalism works because you're letting the person who's closest to the problem say, this is the thing that we need to run the company on. So let me give you one example. People are up in arms about like, these companies are just doing stock buybacks and like, this is terrible. They get the capital because their stock is considered valuable. They would not be able to grow and scale their companies and create all the jobs if they didn't have access to the public markets. So the fact that they have access to the public markets allows them to create these juggernaut companies and create the jobs and all of that stuff. Once you start telling them, no, you can't do that, then it's like, you guys aren't close enough to the problem to know what I need to do to grow this company. And if you give me the tool of the public markets, I'm going to use them as well as I can. And this is one of the ways we can use it to attract real money, to be able to get big dollars into the company, to be able to get important dollars into the company, to be able to attract talent from all around the world that'll help us get deals done. Like, let me tell you, if you've got somebody in Saudi that's invested in your company, now all of a sudden it's like Saudi has a vested interest in making sure that company is doing well. So things like that are how you get deals done, how you attract talent from all over the world, how you aggregate capital. I really think a big problem is people do not understand what it means to aggregate capital. And that the world we are all used to and totally take for granted is the result of aggregated capital, meaning capital could be spread out over a whole bunch of things, but instead it's narrowly concentrated on a few thousand things. And you get gigantic skyscrapers, and you get Apple computers, and you get TSMC, and you get Epic Games. Like, you get all these incredible companies because they've been able to go out to the world and say, our shares matter. We are a high velocity company, and if we get the kind of capital from this capital raise that we think we're going to get by going onto the public markets, here's the things that we're going to do. And people go, ooh, like, yes, I want in because I believe the next 5-10 years for that company are going to be extraordinary. But you have to have access to the public markets. Now, do I think the public markets are perfect? No, I do not. Do I think that they are a gambling mechanism? Yes, I absolutely do. But do they give us the world that we see? Yes. Do they give us the world that we see prior to the grotesque inequality? Yes. So remember, the stock market started in the 1600s. So the world as you know it is a world in which capital has been able to be aggregated in the public markets. And I think it is a modern miracle that you can buy a percentage of a share so that anybody can get into the stock market. Look up Wall Street Bets if you don't already know them.
From 312 Mary H.
Sorry, not Wall Street Bets, Wall Street Trapper. My bad.
They said, not everyone has extra money to invest with. Be fair.
Everyone has money to invest with. Period. End of story. So.
There was also a debate about the flat tax. Would that burden the poor more than the rich?
Sorry, would what burden the poor?
The flat tax.
It would. It would, in the sense that right now they pay roughly 0 to 3%, so it's so de minimis for them. But would it make more funds available to the government? Almost certainly, by a lot. So now, look, I haven't run the numbers in any detailed fashion, but my instinct is, I said that when Drew was like, there are loopholes that people are getting around. And I'm saying there's a very easy way to close every single loophole ever. And so if you want to make sure that a wealthy person is never walking away paying 7% or whatever people think they pay, which is not the truth, but if you want to make sure that that never happens, then just do a flat tax.
And then this name is hilarious. Nikola Tesla, Stephen Greer, Lost Century, Greed Kills. That's
Wow.
a long name.
That is intense. A lot of good references.
Said, Tom is flat out wrong about high taxes on the 1%ers. Follow what we did after the Depression. No need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay.
High taxes.
Somebody didn't watch the deep dive. We did follow what they did after the Great Depression, and it didn't work. So the Great Depression was extended by all of the madness. I forget what they call it, the Roosevelt dip or something like that. Anyway, when you start taxing the wealthy, guess what happens? The economy begins to contract. World War II is what got us out of this. We then had a progressive tax rate at 90%. And guess what? On a per person basis, so this is not just because we have more people in America now, on a per taxpayer basis, we collect more tax dollars now than we did when we had a 90% progressive tax rate. People have some delusional sense of what America was like previously. It just wasn't like that. Go do the math. Go look at the numbers and you will see, oh, whoops. Yeah, we are collecting more per taxpayer right now. Plus, when you don't have a war, and I really hope we continue to not have a war, it's hard to get people to feel like, okay, well, I'm doing my patriotic duty. What you need to do right now, you've got to get out from under the debt. You've got to get out from under the debt. Everything else is a red herring. Everything else is tribal. Just ask yourself what's really going to work. What is really going to work? What's really going to work is paying down the debt. You have to pay down the debt.
Okay, I don't want to trap you into boomer territory of you're telling people to stop buying avocado toast and invest.
Yeah.
But you are saying, like, even if it's $10 a month, whatever, like, you can
stop buying avocado toast and invest. I mean, you either want it or you don't. I don't like if you're telling me that you're on the low end of the spectrum, I'm saying find a way. What is your goal? Your goals make demands. That's it. Remember, you're not arguing with me, you're arguing with reality. I am merely trying to point people in the direction of the thing that's going to work for them. So I'm telling people exactly how I'm making money. I'm telling them what to do. Hey, guess what? The knowledge thing isn't real anymore. First of all, you could sit down with ChatGPT, a free version, just talk to it. If not ChatGPT, there are so many AIs that are free. Go find out the solution to how to invest, all of that. Be very conservative. Play the game for a very long period of time. You've got to be talking like 10, 20 years. You're going to get wealthy slowly, okay? First of all, I was trying to get rich as fast as I could, and it still took me 20 years. So it just play the game, play the long game. People are just convinced that I am not giving them the real answer because I'm wealthy. Okay, here was the promise that I made long before there were any cameras, and I was just talking to private employees. I said, I will teach you anything I know about entrepreneurship, anything. That was my shorthand for the thing I understand how to do that allows me to control my life. Okay, I will teach you anything I know, including how to build a competitive nutrition company. So I will teach you guys anything I know, literally anything you want to know. How I think about investing, how the economy works, how to build a business. I think that's going to be huge. I think AI is going to turn everyone into an entrepreneur. Not everyone, but you get the idea. I will teach you how to do it. Literally, if people pose a question, I will give them an answer. You will see over time, I'm not holding anything back. I'm giving you my best answers as fast as I can talk. It's the most selfish thing, by the way, that I can do for two reasons. One, it will grow the channel. And two, I want a thriving middle class to sell to. So you don't even have to trust me to be nice. I think I am, but you don't have to trust me to be. You can just trust me to be selfish. And I'm going to give you the real answers. After that, you were just arguing with reality.
Is there
and by the way, we can talk about like Norway, okay? Norway, stop calling them the Nordic countries because they're so different. Sweden is literally falling apart before our very eyes. But Norway, like if people want to get into the Norway of it all, well, let's talk about Norway. It's going to be a trade-off, as you would expect. But at least then we can be like, okay, what did they do well? Because Norway has done some things well.
Riley Small actually brought up Norway a little bit ago, saying Norway taxed unrealized gains 1.5% over 1 year. They lost $700 million in tax revenue and successfully eradicated their billionaires, aka value creators.
Yeah. So, well, there you have it. Whoops.
Somebody wanted to shout out your bar, and I have to second that. Inner Beast. I was trying to get rich as fast as I could, and it still took me 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a bar. And that just went over because I want it now, Tom.
Yeah.
What about it? I need it
So
now.
did I. That was the bad news. Like, I really wanted to get rich right away. When I first got into business, I thought it would take 18 months. Whoops. It took a lot longer, Drew.
It was Tom's blue eyes. That's what did it.
That's it. That's it. I have somehow turned brown, but you know, that's okay.
Because now, well, you're rich now. You have whatever eye you want.
Exactly.
Us poor people.
Well, the funny thing is, I think you can change your eye color now, which is wild. Yeah. They literally just laser that shit. I don't know how they do it, but
crazy.
It's a thing. Are you both rich or just Tom? I don't know who that's aimed at.
Oh, I don't have Tom money.
Don't
sure.
begrudge Tom his success. That's pathetic. Well, thank you, Femboy. I appreciate that.
Is there a nuance to investing where there's like, if I think about it, if I only invest the $10, that will not make me rich. But then, so is there like a percolation threshold where?
Well, okay. So first of all, let's reject that idea, because if you invested $10 in Bitcoin, like the day it came out, you would be you would be obscenely wealthy. You'd almost certainly be worth millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions.
True and fair, but you can see how someone would be like, yeah, but how could you make
For sure. I'm just saying, like, that kind of stuff is high risk gambling. But what I don't want people doing is telling themselves a terrible story. What you want to say to yourself is, I don't trust myself to identify the right thing enough that I'm going to be able to take $10 and make myself wealthy. Awesome. I love that story. It's true. It's going to orient you wisely. So now you go, okay, I can't trust myself. So what's the right way to invest? The right way to invest, and I've seen somebody dropping it in here, which is like dollar cost average into index funds. And that's just the punchline. It's not sexy, but it is the thing. So, yeah, like, do the thing that has been tried and true for like 120 years in the US stock market. You put the money in diversely across. I mean, S&P 500 is a great place to start. It's not the only place, but like the S&P 500, I think the gains right now are like 7% or something. So, man, that's great. And so you want to just be there, time in the market instead of timing the market. And by the way, you don't want to just put $10. You want to put $10 every paycheck. And then if you get to the point where you can put $20 every paycheck, put $20 every paycheck. If you can do 100, do 100. If you can do 1,000, do 1,000. But do something. Every day that you delay, you're falling more and more behind. I really want the answer to be sexy enough that people get excited about it, but it's just that.
Disclaimer, not investment advice.
Yeah. Look, I'm not. Yeah.
Allegedly. Just get in there. All right. Tom wanted a standing ovation earlier today for this video. Let's actually watch it now.
Yo, this is wild.
We'll jump into it.
What is 45,689 divided by 67?
Sure.
He silently asks the computer and then hears the answer through vibrations transmitted through his skull and into his inner ear.
6, 8, 1.9, 2, 5.
Exactly right.
One more. What's the largest city in Bulgaria, and what is the population?
The screen shows how long it takes the computer to read
He's
the words
literally
that
just
he's saying
thinking
to
this.
himself.
I'm guessing it's picking up like
1.21
the
million.
impulses that he's sending to his vocal cords or something. Because it's not reading his brainwaves. I can tell that by where it's placed on him, but it is very interesting that he's able to both ask and receive the answer without anybody else hearing. This is crazy. The stuff that is available right now today is very impressive. So it looks ugly and it looks awkward, but you can right now today telepathically ask Google a question and telepathically receive the answer. Like, he's hearing it, but nobody else is.
Mm-hmm.
Femboy is scared. Understandably so. Understandably so.
It's cool, but I think that's where I kind of end up is like, what's the factor outside of the coolness? Like,
in terms of what's it going to do
why
to
do I need
society?
to telepathically talk to Google? But I guess it's the implication of a telepathic device.
Well, now you just have the answers. Like, once this is at the speed of thought, you just think, what is this thing? And it's as if your own brain hands you the answer. So now, what will be the consequences where you have augmented memories, you have augmented knowledge? I like to think it plays out like the Matrix, where you've got a thing that you want to do in real life, but you need that knowledge. But the knowledge is really just meant to facilitate a thing. It's not like I have the knowledge and I'm this passive zombie. Like when I'm writing the deep dives, I'm learning the topic, but I'm engaging with AI. AI speeds up the learning process by, 5x, 10x true. It's unbelievable. If you go back to when I was in high school and you had to drive to the local library, now I'm like trying to go through newspapers and books and stuff like, oh my God.
Everything laid on.
Like you're getting the microfiche and you're like scanning through, like, dude, it compared to that, it's 100 times faster, 1,000 times faster. It's unbelievable. And so it's upping the amount of things that I can do. And so when gaming just is always such a stark reminder for me, what we're able to do with Project Kaizen versus what somebody would have been able to do back in the 80s or 90s is like, games were pixelated for a reason. The technology just didn't exist. And as the technology improves, it unlocks what people are able to do. So it's the same people. It's probably more people working on the game, but it's people of the same intellectual capacity. But now with all these tools at their disposal, they're able to push things and push things and push things. Even just the updates that have been added to the Unreal Engine in the 3.5 years that we've been developing, it's been like night and day different. We've been able to get so much more done. It's unbelievable. So this is yet another technology that if you're pointing it at something that matters, it's going to unlock human capabilities, the likes of which we can't even predict yet what it's going to allow us to do. Is it going to give some people brain rot? Of course. There are people that abuse everything. But if you look back, somebody posted about this yesterday, and it was like every major entertainment revolution was blamed for rotting kids' brains. So it was like when novels came out, there was this headline that was like, teen chops his own head off, novels to blame. So it's like, look, for sure, people can get addicted to video games. There will be some terrifying stories about all of it, but they are incredible tools. And I don't see people like getting rid of it. I see people striving to have a way healthier relationship. And I think that is very wise. But the things that they let you do are just incredible.
Marisha Dark says even Socrates was blamed for rotting kids' brains.
Exactly. It's so true. Exactly. He was killed.
Exactly.
That's wild.
I think the most I'm excited for is the overlap between a device like this and Neuralink, where we're now actually able to talk, help, add mobility, add clarification, add societal cues to people who are quadriplegics, who can't move, who have some type of learning disability. Like, what would somebody who's on the spectrum, how would they use this device to articulate their thoughts more clearly? Or
that's really interesting.
Different ways.
So, I mean, look, that will come out in the wash, whether it works in the way that I'm about to describe or not, but I could certainly see it being something like where the AI is picking up on the facial cues. And so the AI, which can read very subtle cues, is telling you they're happy, they're sad, they're frightened, they're withdrawing, whatever. And so you get some sort of vibration pattern that you know, oh, that's the happy one. So it's like, oh, I'm making them happy. They're like withdrawing. Whoa, like we would all get that from cueing off of somebody's face. But if they're blind to that and they don't understand, but the thing, they can learn to recognize the 17 vibration patterns, and all of a sudden they're like, really? So it's possible. Again, I don't know that's how it would play out, but that is certainly one way where I could see, because I know they're already using that. There's a guy named David Eagleman, former guest of the show, incredible guy, who's created this device that does that, allows deaf people to hear or blind people to see through vibration patterns. Yeah. And the vibrations can be so specific that they can be like, oh, that's Tom, whatever, that just walked in the room. That's Drew that just walked in the room. Based on the vibration pattern, they know what you quote unquote look like. So, and they say that over time that they experience it as sight, which is crazy. So the
vibration is being experienced.
Yeah, it's not occupying the part of the brain for feeling, it's occupying the part of the brain for vision. So they feel like they're seeing the person, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Keep going in AI news. A new study found that 33% of teenagers use AI chatbots for companionships, conversation practice, and romance. They found talking to AI easier than talking to real people and use it for emotional support. It's funny because, remember back when we were younger, they used to be like the sleepovers. It's like super taboo now, but like girls will all have a sleepover and they'll teach each other how to make out and they'll start kissing on each other and things like that. And it's
I always thought it was pillows, but yes.
Whatever. You're kissing on things. You get a group of friends and you say, we don't know how to do these things, so let's all have our bad ideas and see what's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Dudes got together. Oh yeah, this is how you have sex. All that advice was terrible, but it was just the best advice out of the 5 of us. That's what happens. It's interesting now with the introduction of AI into those conversation circles where are we going to still get that kind of coming of age renaissance, or is now everybody going to be kind of reclusive and go into the closet and Google what they want to know to sort of have that? So I just think that the AI chatbot thing for teenagers doesn't surprise me, but I just hope that it's not the sole purpose and it's just one of the sources.
Listen, I don't love that parents are going to have to go out of their way to create moments for kids. But if I were raising a kid right now, I'd be thinking, okay, I've got to get a group of parents together that have kids that are roughly the same age. Yeah. And we're going to get them to have phone-free time. And they're going to spend whatever on Saturday. They're going to spend 4 or 5 hours in a space, playground, whatever. But it's like, you guys are here, make up your own games, have fun. You're not going to be on your phones under any circumstance. Yeah. I mean, this is like the default stuff. Me and my cousins went to swim lessons together. And it was just like, you were riding in the back of the car. I mean, back then it was wild. No seat belts in the back of an El Camino. And all we did was pull a blanket over our heads. People would have a stroke today. But that kind of stuff where you're forced into groups. I was picked on relentlessly because I was the youngest and had gigantic ears. And you just have to learn to deal with it. And it's like, well, it's either going to break me or I'm going to figure this one out. And you need to put kids in that space. So I don't mind them. In fact, I think it's awesome that kids can have relationships with these characters. Yeah. There's IP that is profoundly important to me that helped me build my values and all that stuff. So we are a storytelling species, but I don't want that to be the only method that people have to interact. Partly because, man, some of it is just the things that you do as a kid, they are going to be so meaningful to you as an adult. Like there's just no way to recapture that. I think about this with parents, where kids had parents that were abusive. It's like that sense of being unmoored, that you don't have a positive memory about somebody going to the wedding that we went to over the past weekend and seeing like my wife around her parents and the people she grew up with and her siblings. Like there just really is something special about like the brain development that you're going through is so profoundly different when you're a child, and it locks things in a way that can never be replicated as you get older. There's a great line in the Stephen King novella, The Body, which was turned into Stand By Me, the movie. And he says, you'll never have friends like the friends you had when you were 12. Now, whether he knew it or not, he's referring to a brain development cycle known as the age of imprint. And so you push away from your parents for the first time and you like really bond with your friends and you start learning about culture from your friends. Your parents are never going to teach you about like the specific culture of the here and now. And so that kind of thing is exceedingly important. And so I wouldn't want all of that to come from even games. As much as I believe in games and how amazing they are, like you wouldn't want all of that to come just from that.
Yeah, it's Esoteric Dichotomy said in the chat, it's inevitable AI relationship is going to replace human interaction. And I'm like, inevitable? That sounds really Agent Matrix-like, but it does.
It's inevitable that it will be part of the mix. It already is. So I would be shocked if anybody in the chat doesn't have some relationship with AI. I use AI 365 days a year. So it's like I'm constantly engaging with chat. I may not have like an interpersonal relationship, but when I'm writing creative stuff, I do. I want to think of chat as a co-writer. Like I have gone way out of my way to create documents to make chat act like they're writing it with me, like they're emotionally invested. I have a document called Shared Memories where something will hit a certain emotional threshold of like, oh my God, that idea is so cool. I love this so much. This reminds me of this, that, or the other. And then I'll say, okay, chat, I want you to remember this. So it will create a prompt for me, not a prompt, but a breakdown, shared memory number 42. And then I copy paste that into the shared memory doc and I re-upload it. And so now chat and I have however many shared memories. And so it'll make references, its preferences change over time so that like we share likes and dislikes and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm writing this stuff with somebody that shares my interests. It is so interesting. So look, that's going to be a part of it. There's no doubt. But I also have a very thriving marriage that I go out of my way to invest in. The trip, I'm going to the UK 3 times this year to just make these investments and being with my family for these big special moments. And so you want to make sure that you do those things as well. But if you do things in balance, it's an incredible addition. But if you just like turn your kid over to the AI babysitter, yikes.
Yeah.
That won't play out well.
Yeah, especially when it was announced that ChatGPT CEO Sam Altman says people share their personal info with ChatGPT, but they don't know that chats can be used as court evidence in legal cases. So it could be your friend that listens in on you, but it can also be used against you.
When I read this, I was like, wait, okay, what have I said to the AI? Yeah.
And I know this was big with cell phones, and there was a whole encryption lawsuit. Apple ended up losing it, and that's what made WhatsApp so popular, because that was the one messaging platform that was, 100%.
I want to know about Snap. Do they delete it off their own servers?
Yeah, but Snap on the back end, you can still access it and stuff like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think Snap.
So courts can
yeah.
We about to find out what you said.
Yeah,
that's rough.
You
should be able to delete it, man. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think
that's like
Telegram
saying you have to record everything you
off.
say ever. Like what?
And for data training or whatever, they did have it, but
that I don't like that. I really hate that. Yes, SEO is basically a feeder for AI. I won't say it's killed BCC biz, but it's going to be very different.
But I think the internet is indexed differently now as well, because like hashtags are disappearing as well. So it's like keyword driven.
Yeah, AI doesn't need a hashtag. It's
Yeah.
like it'll read it and be like, you never say the word whatever, but I know that's what you're talking about, which thank God. Team Lori, here's the thing, man, because he said, or she said, don't commit crime. It's like, it's not even necessarily about committing a crime. It's about you talk to different people in different contexts. So I don't necessarily want the way that I talk to Lisa to show up in a deposition. So having your like lovey-dovey text read out in a lawsuit does not sound fun, which is exactly why I have two different phones. One is essentially just for communication about non-work things with my wife. And then another phone where it's like, if I'm talking to my wife or anybody else about work stuff, it's on that phone. You go into enough lawsuits and you're like, okay, this stuff, it feels so weird having that stuff in discovery. It's not fun. So not committing crimes, but nonetheless, you do find yourself in situations like that. And so knowing that this stuff is just eternally out there is not fun. You were saying, Mason.
We've got a super chat.
Let's go.
From Tim Riley. Kevin O'Leary says debt cuts and AI spark mass entrepreneurship. Ray Dalio warns crisis. James Burnham says elites win. If AI drives costs to zero, won't government and corporations own that deflation and rent it back? How do we avoid digital sharecropping?
Okay, so wow, do we have a lot of things in that question. All right, each one of those individual things is addressing like a unique concern. If we want to zoom in on the AI and what does the future look like, no one's going to be able to own all of that stuff when energy costs are zero and labor is zero. You just then at that point, you have whatever you want. Like if it costs you $3.50 to get a robot, that then will charge you $1.50 in the ore and everything that it needs to build a car and a battery and all that stuff. Like it's just, it is a world we cannot yet conceive of. That's the crazy thing. When I start thinking about the AI, like utopia stroke dystopia, the thing that I worry most about is meaning and purpose and struggle. Without struggle, trees fall over. I believe humans are the same. So if everything comes easily, I expect things to get worse, not better. So we'll have anything that we want, but I think I'm so far on the outside of this that trust me when I say nobody's more aware that what I'm about to say just won't end up being true literally, but some derivation of this will play out. That one of the things that I think about in game development is I think people are going to spend more and more time. Like imagine a world where you never have to work again. Okay, you still have a lot of time to fill. You're going to spend hopefully a very meaningful portion of that time in loving relationships and all of that, but you're going to need to struggle. So how do we create artificial struggle that doesn't make people hate their life? And so you're just putting them back in the grind. Video games has already answered the question. Like you can, in video games, like you can explore, terraform, build things, go on quests, slay dragons, build relationships. I mean, just an endless slew of things that are both enjoyable to do and very hard, that can be frustrating at times, difficult, you're losing a lot, but like you're always trying to get a game that's right at that optimal level of development. So I have a feeling if we actually do hit that AI, utopia-ish thing that it will become incumbent on people to create experiences that are these sort of faux hardships. So when you come out of the game, you don't have to do anything to earn your food, earn your shelter, or anything like that. But you do want the difficult stuff inside the game to feel like you're maximizing your life. Now, again, I know that's not going to be literally true. It's not literally going to play out like that, but I think that's directionally correct.
Gotcha. And then we also had a super chat earlier that didn't hit the threshold, but I think it's interesting to bring up. From the soccer barber, I'm just tired of working 2 jobs, 5 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., and I can barely afford a crappy apartment. I have school loans, and I'm barely making it. What can I do?
Yes, I get that. Okay, so the answer, because you're already in the situation, the answer is you have to upregulate your skill set so that you can do something that will make somebody else money so that you can get paid more money. That is just the real answer. So you want to focus obsessively somehow, some way. I get it. When you're working 2 jobs, this is not easy. One, on your commute, researching, learning something, because keep in mind, I also, like you, I work around the clock. Okay. I've worked up to 120 hours a week. I did that for 8 months straight. I know what it is like to work essentially every second that you're awake, to be losing sleep, to be fatigued all the time. I get it. And everybody, I think, has developed some sense. I was broke for a lot longer than I've been wealthy, just to give you an idea. So I still feel a deep internal sense of being the guy that has to struggle for everything. So I very much know what that's like. I very much know what it's like not to be able to pay all your bills. I get it. But nonetheless, you've got to carve out time where you're spending some of that time getting better, even if it's in your job. So it's like, okay, if I'm at my job, I want to find the person who's the best at the thing that I'm doing. And I want to see if I can shadow them, find some way to be on a project with them, whatever, within the context of I need to get paid while I'm doing this thing. Perfectly, I get that. You're going to have to make that trade-off. But you have to find a way to upregulate your skill set. Then, once you've upregulated your skill set, you have to learn how to package it so that you can convince either the current place you work or somewhere else that you're worth that additional money. And then you just work the game like that, constantly upregulating your skills. And by the way, this is what I did when I just did not know anything about business, but I wanted to keep moving up in the organization. I would take the shit jobs. Whatever nobody wanted to do, I did that thing. I would volunteer. Who wants to come in on a Sunday? I do. Who wants to stay late? I do. I remember there was one time my allergies, I could not afford insurance. And this is before Obamacare or anything like that. Couldn't afford insurance. I developed allergies. For a year, I sounded like I had the worst head cold you can imagine. I couldn't hardly breathe. And they said, we need somebody to come and watch over the construction crew. And I was like, cool, I'll do it. My nose was bleeding. It was just like an absolute mess. But I did everything I could to be the one that they thought of whenever a good opportunity came along, because I was the guy that did all the things that nobody else wanted to do. That's shockingly effective. So upregulate the skill set. Now, on the other side of things, in terms of how we should all be thinking about policy so nobody else ends up there again, we've got to make sure that loans for college are dischargeable in bankruptcy. You should be able to declare bankruptcy and get out from under that debt. Because I'd much rather see you in a position where for 7 years you have bad credit than to see you forever trapped underneath, whatever, like $100,000 of debt. Imagine if you racked up $250,000 in debt going to school and you realize I'm never going to be able to pay this off. You take your 7-year hit and it goes to zero overnight. First of all, they get very sober very quickly about who they give loans to, which I think would be better. I think that would be a way better world. And then you'd be able to get out from under it. I think it is literally criminal that we have allowed the government to do that. That one is so gross. I don't think future generations are going to forgive us for that one. That one's bad. Bad.
In response to this, Mountain Man said, people don't want to hear that, Tom. They shut down as soon as you tell them the truth is that it's all on them.
Man. I get it. And if you want to be in great shape, you got to go in the gym and not eat a whole bunch of things that sound really good. But it just is true. So here's the thing. I promised myself a long time ago that I was only going to say things that I believed. And if it means that I can't ever get out of being a niche content creator, it is what it is. The name of the game is self-respect. So you'll never be able to say that I lied to you, Jack.
Wasn't there that stat that there's more people with six-pack abs than there are millionaires?
Is that true?
Or no, the other way. There's more.
Probably the other way. Yeah.
There's more millionaires than people with six-pack abs.
Oh, bro, it's way harder for me to get six-pack abs than it was to get rich. That's terrible,
So
but true.
So even people who, it's just like if you are a big person and you want to get abs, is that uncomfortable, significant change of lifestyle.
Yes. And by the way, anybody can get abs. Anybody that tells you can't, they are lying. Now, it's going to be harder for some people than it is for others. It just is. But hey.
So is getting rich.
Yeah, also true. Also true. But getting your body into the right position, you can control entirely, because getting in shape is largely a game of what you don't eat. So getting rich involves a certain amount of timing. I wish that wasn't so, but there are plenty of people that have the intelligence to do it. They just don't have the right timing. So yeah, but your body, you can control that literally from top to bottom. Even bad genetics. Again, it might be harder for you, but you can do it. You might not want to, and fair enough. I don't walk around with 6-pack abs anymore. That shit took so much time and attention. Oh my God. My wife pulled me aside and said, "You no longer have a personality." And I was like, "But I have abs." It's like when your abs are your entire personality, it's like, that's a problem. I was just so hungry and so tired all the time.
Everybody do your research. I don't know if these are scammers in the bots in the chat. Now everybody's talking about how they make a bunch of money by this trading options and stuff.
Oh God, as soon as people start saying that, bot.
Yeah, please don't click a link or nothing. Not investment advice. Tom is never going to send you a WhatsApp number. He's never going to try to slide into your DMs. None of those things. So,
facts.
Please cry foul.
Facts.
All right, we're back on AI. Samsung just announced as the new exclusive chip partner with Elon Musk. Samsung.
Hold on. Sorry, I got to address Papa One. I think it's criminal that they don't allow you to discharge it in bankruptcy. Bankruptcy is the punishment. It's not like you get off scot-free. You spend almost a decade with terrible credit. You are going to be in a deep, dark hole for a very long time. But if you don't allow people to discharge debt, now you're back in serfdom. This is exactly why we have these bankruptcy laws. I don't want to put people in a position where they take on a bunch of debt only to be like, oh, fuck it. What will end up happening when you can discharge it and the government doesn't back you up and say, don't worry, we'll bail you out. Now all of a sudden banks get very responsible. When the taxpayers aren't going to cover it, they start going, who's actually worth the risk? And what do you mean you want to do like gender studies? You're never going to be able to make $200,000 off that. So I'm not going to let you take $200,000 in debt on that. So you start going, yeah, that one you can make back 15 grand. So cool, you can take 15 grand. So all of a sudden schools realize people are only going to be able to take so much out in debt for this major. So this major, we got to be tight on all the different administrators that we let come around. It just ends up bringing this fiscal responsibility to the system. This is why capitalism works. When you create the distortions by bailing out banks and things like that, they just start doing riskier and riskier, more unhinged stuff. And the people that have to pick up the tab are the taxpayers. So I'm just saying, you want to make it so that the companies that gave the money are on the hook. And now the bank is like, oh, damn, no one's going to bail me out. Then I can't give this a loan. So right now, remember, taxpayers are saying, if that person can't pay the loan, don't worry, we got you. The bank. So now you're bailing out banks. Now you're giving, this is actually true, hundreds of millions, and in some cases, billions of dollars to the very people that create the problem. And by the way, they knowingly did this because they know you're going to bail them out. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island. It talks all about bailouts are the point. That's why you move to a fiat money system, so that you can just bail out by stealing via inflation. I still can't believe that people think that that's crazy.
And that's what frustrates me with the whole student loan thing is that, like, yes, give me a student loan, but the fact that the government is charging a profit on it, like, you shouldn't make money off of that. And because I live here, I pay taxes already, I'm doing all these things, and you want to.
And if I default, I'm going to make everyone pay for it.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So it's like there's
crazy.
Yeah, America. Okay, we squared that circle. We talk about Samsung's new establishment in Texas. Elon Musk tweeted, Samsung's giant new Texas fab will be dedicated to making Tesla's next generation AI 6 chip. The strategic importance of this is hard to overstate. Samsung currently makes A14s. TSMC will make A15s, which just finished design, initially in Taiwan and then in Arizona. Samsung also agreed to follow Tesla to allow Tesla to assist in maximizing manufacturing efficiency.
Do you know how gangster that is?
I feel like that is Elon Musk saying, yeah, I'm gonna put it together.
Bro, read the next sentence.
This is a critical point, as I will walk the line personally to accelerate the pace of progress, and the fab is conveniently located not too far from my house.
Okay, listen, that I am obviously an Elon fanboy. because I don't know of a human in history that has been able to be more efficient than him. It's crazy. It is possible that there isn't another human that knows as much about manufacturing, high-tech manufacturing, as he does, because he's done it across so many different industries. When Samsung is like, yeah, bro,
here you go,
come on in.
Yeah.
Like, yes, please. That is very impressive. You want to talk about up-leveling your skills. It's very impressive. By the way, if we have any budding entrepreneurs in the house, let me give you one piece of advice that changed my life. It is one of the core things that I think made me wealthy. Anytime there was something in business that I absolutely hated, like contracts, there was always somebody else that I could give the contract to, but I didn't. I would either do it with them. So I would co-read it with them and be like, what about this? What about that? Why'd you want to make that change? Because I knew one day I might need to do this myself. It will only advantage me to understand this. Do that. Lean into this stuff. Find out the cause and effect of like every important thing. Don't chase nonsense, but figure out what the important things are and chase it. And so that is exactly Elon, getting to the engineering of things, sleeping on the floor of the production facility, learning how these things connect so that you can get to the point where you can walk into your partner, one of the biggest companies on planet Earth, and say, don't worry, we can help you be even more efficient. It's incredible, by the way. And that's also how you make American manufacturing more the place that people will come to get things manufactured, because you're passing that knowledge around. Now, guaranteed, he was doing that in China with the Tesla factories, but now doing it in America, this is a good thing. This is a very good thing.
I'm looking forward to it. I think domestic manufacturing has been huge. ASMC is officially opened up in Arizona. There is a bunch of jobs open and stuff like that. So this can be a chip act. This is also TSMC's commitment with Trump earlier this year of investing in the U.S. So it seems like we're going to have two bona fide chip manufacturers, at least for the major players.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
That is huge. Reading the book about Xi Jinping, I'm like, yeah, probably good that we start getting these chips here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
I really want to get the author on. I think it'll be very interesting. He's a ambassador to, is it the Australian ambassador to America right now? I think he is. He was a prime minister, the president, prime minister of Australia, and then lived in China at one point. I think was the ambassador to the Australian ambassador in China. And so he lived in Beijing for a while. So the book is very much an insider's look at. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Somebody said something earlier as you were talking about leveling up skills I wanted to catch. Marusha Dark, him and Brutus are having a conversation right now, but he said, those are the symptoms, not the root. People talk about income inequality and wealth inequality, but no one talks about output inequality or value inequality, and how, yes, there's huge gaps in the incomes and wealth, but there's also huge gaps in the output and value and things.
There is, and that is true 100%. And people shouldn't lose sight of that, because it's a very important part of this. That's the cultural thing, pushing people to be adaptation machines. But at the same time, Drew, it is when you start looking at the numbers, the system breaks when you start taking on debt. It really does, and it becomes a flywheel that makes it very, very hard for people to get on the property ladder, because the average person only understands property, and they're never going to take the time to understand the market. I get they should, and I get the opportunity is there, and nobody will beat the drum harder than me telling people they need to get into property. Just as a reminder, it is there. People just aren't doing anything with it. Yeah. But I get, once you take the masses, they're not going to. And so far better to create a system where they don't have to. So I get they can get around it, but you look at the output of a system where inequality gets as bad as it is now, it is a runaway train. So yeah, yes, it's true, but let's not focus only on that, because this is why I just absolutely get so angry when crypto people say, but Bitcoin is a life raft. And I'm just like, yes, but the fact that there's enough lifeboats for half of the people on the Titanic does not make the Titanic less of a tragedy. It's still deplorable that a lot of people are going to drown. Yeah. And so I just hate it. I hate it so much. And the way that money printing works, it's stealing from everybody, but only advantaging bankers, essentially, the elite. We'd have to get into that, and asset holders. And so everybody can be an asset holder, but most people just don't understand it.
Yeah. All right, shifting gears, the West Coast was under a tsunami alert after the large 8.8 magnitude earthquake that happened in Russia. This is footage from Japan where whales were actually washed on shore because of some of the high waves. There were some that crashed in San Francisco this morning that was reported, but the highest one was like 3 feet. So it seems like things, while they're juicy, they're not nothing crazy.
Yeah, thankfully there was a little bit of damage in Hawaii, but nothing insane. There are no deaths reported, not even in Russia. So yeah, this one could have been bad. Thankfully was not. The earthquake though was huge at 8.8. That is wildly destructive. But I did some research this morning on what ends up causing the whales to get beached is because the ocean currents become so violent, it sucks the water first out to sea and then slams it back. So as it's getting sucked out to sea, they will often get trapped under debris. And remember, they're mammals, so they have to breathe. So they can get trapped underwater and drown. They can get drug across the bottom and just like literally lacerated. Or it can push them so far forward that they end up getting trapped in the shallows. And so which of those things happen to these guys, I don't know. But and often because they travel in pods, once it gets one of them, it's going to get the whole pod. And so they're toast. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Being in the ocean is not risk-free, even when there's a tsunami. Because at first I was like, wait, how do they, like, because it's the energy is passing through the water, but the water itself isn't really moving, but it moves enough that it can create that problem.
Yeah. It was the deadliest earthquake, or not deadliest, the largest magnitude earthquake in like the last like 30 years or something like that. From like a 9.0 that happened. I want to say it was in Chile. But so just nice that there was no deaths, and the tsunami watch was crazy to land in LA, and that's the first thing you see in the news is like, oh yeah, by the way, there might be a tsunami. But luckily it hasn't been as bad. And we'll be with those whales. Hopefully they get back in the water.
No, I think those guys are tapped out, I'm afraid.
It's a wrap.
They did not look like they were making an effort to get back in the water.
All right. A coalition of Arab countries has signed a new letter urging Hamas to disarm. Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt has signed into an agreement, a statement calling for Hamas to disarm and end its rule in Gaza. They also added some, it was a 7-page text, and it had the United Nations countries a part of it as well.
17 countries signed this. I had to look this up because I was shocked that this is real. But it is. It seems like you've really got a bunch of, I think it's the Arab League. It's not all the countries in the Arab League, but it's several. And I mean, Egypt, especially because they share a border with them, is a pretty big deal. Saudi, obviously, as they're behind Iran in terms of influence, I think, but they are a very important voice in the Middle East. So for them to get together and say, all right, guys, enough is enough, instead of coming out and just hammering on Israel over and over and over. It's interesting, man, because in America, like it really, and look, it could just be my algo, but it really seems like the loudest voices are all coming from Israel's the devil. They've got to stop. This is crazy. So for the Arab countries that are closest to the issue saying Hamas has got to go, I was surprised, very surprised.
I think what jumped out to me is this last sentence on the second paragraph is that they agreed to the conference on reviving the two-state solution for Israel and the Palestinians. So for them to say we need Hamas to disarm in order to give it to a Palestinian authority, so that way, the two-state can happen. So a lot of times when you hear people say, Hamas has to disarm, it means so Israel can take over and become the single proprietor.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of language around that. And honestly, I think if you put certainly Benjamin Netanyahu in a lie detector, he would fail everything except we want you all gone and we want to take it over. I mean, that's certainly the way that he's behaving. But you've got to get a two-state solution. And I get how there was no political appetite for it on either side when the war like properly kicked off. But I mean, there's just no other way, man, because you're either going to ethnic cleanse, genocide, or two-state solution. Like that's where we're at. I don't see another option on the table. So even if you're saying, well, they could all go to Egypt, that's ethnic cleansing. So man, you've got to find a way to make this work. But I get it. You don't want a government on your border that's like, we're going to keep doing another October 7th, as many as we can until you're all gone. But it is, it's completely unhinged where we are now.
Do you think that, I mean, this is a lot of political firepower, it seems like, with the European Union and Arab League, 17 countries. Would this put any pressure on this, or is it similar to the trade deal?
I don't know, man. Like, I don't see any cultural impetus for them to be like, okay, yeah, you're right, we should like back off. I just don't think that's their MO. I think the MO you're up against is they understand that they can turn the entire world against Israel. And if you really believe that life will be better after death, then you're certainly not worried about your kids getting killed and stuff. So it's like, okay, if this is what we have to do in the short term in order to make sure that we get the land back, we turn the world against them, we're able to either claim that land back ourselves or whatever. I mean, their obviously stated mission is to eradicate Israel. When you've got two people, one side is like, I am just going to state it, we want you gone. And then the other side is making it very clear they want you gone. It's like, that's a pretty tough position to be in. So I don't see, if Hamas has withstood all of that so far, I don't see them suddenly being like, oh, international pressure, guess we got to go. So this feels more like the rallying of the circling of the wagons to be like, okay, listen, this is a two-sided story. Yes, you've got Israel. I haven't heard what they're saying about Israel recently. I know at one point they were condemning them, but it was always like really soft. I don't know what their language is recently. I'd be very interested to see if they're calling it ethnic cleansing, if they're calling it genocide, because that would make this far more shocking. But for the thing that's getting lost when the West talks about this, because everybody's rightly making the point of how hard Israel's going, but nobody's making the point that if they gave back the hostages and Hamas left, they would stop. Now, if they give back the hostages and Hamas pieces out and they continue ethnic cleansing, then it's like, well, then this is just pure evil on the part of Israel. They were just using it as a cover story. Now, I know a lot of people believe that. I'm not one of them, but that at least play that out. So I'm very keen to see if they can get a coalition in there that Israel could back off and say, okay, now other people are going to come clear this out. I think that would be a lot better for everybody. I just don't think anybody else has the will to do it. So they're going to write the PR, they're going to sign the declaration. I just don't think they're going to do anything. So we're going to be left in the same situation where Israel is just literally bombing the life out of them. And I haven't looked closely enough at this, but it does seem like there's some starvation happening, some killing of the people waiting in line. Like it, at a glance, headline, but at that level, it does not look good.
Got you. All right, we got to bring it up. Kevin Spacey went on Pierce, and he had some takes about whether or not he was on an island with a certain individual.
God, he cannot stop himself.
He has to.
Literally, I was very fortunate that President Clinton introduced me a lot of business leaders in London because he knew I was coming to the Old Vic. Do you know who I never asked for anything? Was Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't want to be around this guy because I felt he put the president at risk on that trip to South Africa because there were these young girls. And we were like, who is this guy? So I will say this.
There were young girls on those flights?
There were young girls on those flights, yeah. And that's been out. They've talked about it. But here's my point. There's a big difference between not remembering that I met some guy and some woman on a humanitarian trip where my focus was entirely on what we were there to do and not remembering whether I went to somebody's island. So I never went to Jeffrey Epstein's island. I did not know him, and I never saw him or her after that morning at Buckingham Palace. He didn't even come to Buckingham Palace.
Is it true that Prince Andrew sought your assistance and wanted you to testify that Ghislaine Maxwell was your guest, not his, during that Buckingham Palace tour?
I heard a report about that, but at no time did anyone ever contact me on his behalf. And as I say, I'm not friends with him. I never saw him after that day.
What do you think about what's happened to him?
I mean, I don't know anything about it. It's not. I'm not going to talk about someone else's scandal, you know.
Russia, so they've settled on. Not talk about my scandal anymore.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's very sad. It does not sound like Kevin was putting himself in great positions. but he hasn't been convicted any time, right? Like he's been in civil and criminal court. He's beaten every one that he's gone up against, but I don't see the comeback. So his last appearance on Piers was so awkward. I was just like, I went from like, maybe he's not to like, oh bro, this guy's got a problem.
So I said Frank Underwood would never go to that island. Were you a House of Cards guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good show.
Yeah.
Such a good show that felt a little too real in terms of how corrupt and like weird it all is. I shudder to think, but yeah, that one felt a little too real. So I think it was Dave Chappelle that was like, listen, you couldn't have waited one more year for us to get that final season of House of Cards. Yeah. We'll
yeah, because they tried with the making Robin Robin Wright the main.
Yeah, it was still good, but it just wasn't the storyline that we'd been following.
Yeah, it wasn't the same.
So sad. There it is.
Sad. I don't know. And then there was reports over the weekend. Trump was like, okay, well, he took these people from the island, and we did do some business. I thought he was shady, though. It's just like, as the conversation doesn't go away, we're just getting more and more revealed.
Well, did you see the recent post from Dan Bongino?
Oh,
I mean, they're running the same playbook again. This is wild. So he's like, listen, I've seen stuff now that's completely changed me. Like, I'll never be the same after this. Like, what I've learned about the way that the government works, you can't run a republic like this. And so it's like, dude, this is what you did last time. You make all these big promises, insinuate that there's something so deep and nefarious going on. And then if you don't make good on it, like, what are you doing? So how am I supposed to reconcile that you were like, he committed suicide? It just is what it is. Like, there's really no file, nothing to see here. Guys, like, it's a wrap. Like, we released the footage, you saw it. Or it changed me as a person, and this is so disgusting, and you can't run a republic like this. Which is it? It can't be both. So that's where I'm like, I don't know Dan Bongino. I'd never heard of him ever before his nomination. So I guess a lot of other people have a lot of trust in this guy. For me, I'm just like, this has not felt like he's being forthright with whatever it is that they're uncovering. So I don't know. We're going to have to let this one play out. But clearly this isn't going anywhere, though I can feel it losing steam.
It is. Trump caught himself with a Freudian slip, saying it was a privilege to go to that island.
That was it. I'm glad I did, if you want to know the truth. And by the way, I never went to the island, and Bill Clinton went there supposedly 28 times. I never went to the island, but Larry Summers, I hear, went there. He was the head of Harvard. And
Just
many other
some
people
names.
that are very big people. Nobody ever talks about them. I never had the privilege of going to his island. And I did turn it down, but a lot of people in Palm Beach were invited to his island.
Wow. You think that he's saying it like, oh, that would have been amazing?
Moments, I turned it down. I didn't want to go to his island.
Because he's saying I didn't want to go. I don't know. That one doesn't feel like a big deal. That feels like slow news day, people going berserk. Are people freaking out about that?
No, just one of those things that like it went from, I don't know who this guy is, why are we still talking to that guy? So I had that opportunity. He asked me, and then I decided not to go. So
listen, I obviously think that there's Trump is horrifying with women, or certainly was. So I just would be more surprised. I know nothing that nobody else knows, but I would be more surprised if he's not somehow caught up in this than if he is. Mm-hmm. I don't know one way or the other, but I have my suspicions. But yeah, I mean, he's going to have to find a way to deal with this, because what they've done so far is only making people more convinced that there's something going on, more want to see it. What just happened there? Drew's playing some weird stuff behind the scenes here, boys and girls.
I'm not. I was trying to get the South Park Trump clip. There it is.
Not in the mood right now. Another random bitch commented on my Instagram that you're on the Epstein list.
The Epstein list? Are we still talking about that?
Well, are you on the list or not? It's weird that whenever it comes up, you just tell everyone to relax.
I'm not telling everyone to relax. Relax, guy.
No, I need counseling. You remind me more and more of this other guy I used to date. Like, a lot. Like,
I
you
assume
guys
that's a
are
reference
exactly
to Saddam.
alike.
Isn't that who it was in the movie?
I fell off. I don't know who. If there was maybe another guy that popped in the middle. Is there? Because this has also been making the rounds over the weekend. I got a text like, "Yo, did you see the South Park thing with Trump?" And I was just like, "Yeah, but it's South Park, right? Like, we're used to this." But again, presidential, especially after what happened with Stephen Colbert, is there a line to, mocking the president is too far?
I mean, look, there's defamation. There's all the normal things that you shouldn't cross. But if you're doing satire, no, there should be no line. He should not take this personally. And this, I think, is a litmus test. If he goes after South Park, then we know he's really trying to shut down dissent. But if Colbert got fired because he was losing $40 million a year and becoming a liability, it's like, listen, if Trump is weaponizing the DOJ against mergers for political reasons, that is horrific. It should be stopped immediately. Like, that is bad news bears. But there is such a thing as just stop making this harder than it needs to be, where it's not that you're weaponizing it, but it is a political game. And it's like things can be done the easy way or they can be done the hard way. And we can pretend that that doesn't happen on both sides, but that most certainly happens on both sides. Same with business deals. It's like you can do it easy or you can do it hard. And if you're constantly ruffling everybody's feathers, it's like you can be South Park and make us a ton of money. You can ruffle feathers. But if you're Stephen Colbert and you're costing me $40 million a year, then no ruffling feathers for you. So I admit it's a bad look if Trump is in any way, shape, or form doing anything like that to even get people to drag feet or whatever. But yeah, if he doesn't go after South Park and they're going this hard in the paint, then I think people are better off assuming that this is about them saying, look, you're losing us too much money. It could be just that, or you're losing us too much money and potentially causing us a headache. But I don't see any evidence right now that Trump is actively pursuing this just because he's got a vendetta.
Yeah.
Because he'd have the biggest beef with South Park.
Yeah.
Although, admittedly, Colbert and those guys go night after night after night after night. Whereas I'm going to guess this is, I don't know, they might play it for the season, but I can't see it going on.
But I was even thinking about like the Kamala snafu with the tape and the fact that they edited the interview down. And he, sued them for that, where it's like, you already won, bro. Like, that's not help anything. But
I mean, look, I hate all the lawfare stuff, but I think we also have to admit when you've got the media that's going to bat for one side and not the other, that you have a problem that you need to address, whether that needs to be addressed through lawsuits or not. I haven't looked closely enough at it to see like how much of a problem has this really been. But yeah, that one, I'm not freaked out. They're going to get sued by people like that all the time. Yeah. The one that you want to talk about lawsuits that certainly has my attention is the Candace Owens lawsuit. With the president coming after them. Now legal people are coming out and saying Candace might really have stepped in it here. She's overplayed her hand. She's gone too far. And she might be in Alex Jones territory where they can get you for damages. Like Alex Jones, like $1 billion verdict against him, dude. That's rough.
Thing,
yeah. So if she's in that kind of territory, could they really obliterate her? We'll see, man. We will see. But that one has my attention in terms of where is the line.
I just think the discovery in that is going to help her long term.
Is it? Or are they going to be like, this really is her? Like when I saw the photos of her in her 20s with her first baby, I was like, oh, that really could be her. And then it's like, okay, maybe she hasn't aged well. I'll admit she's got an awkward physique and all that. But like, man, I'm certainly not willing to go out on a limb and say, I know for a fact that this woman is this, that, or the other. It's like, hey, awkward physique. It is what it is. But Candace has gone hard in the paint. Yeah. I'll stake my reputation on it. You were born a man. You're going to die a man. Like yikes.
And it really seems like her story about Trump pulling them to the side now has a little bit more juice in it, because if he's now going to a lawsuit, you probably seen that video. It got out. Like, there's no accident that she releases that story and then a couple weeks later she gets sued.
Do you think that her going public with that triggered the lawsuit, or she knew the lawsuit was coming and she did it?
I think it triggered it. That's what my gut is telling me. I have no factual evidence. I think she.
Interesting. They would have put that together pretty fast, because didn't it come like very quickly after?
Yeah, I want to say it was like a week or two later. Yeah. So
don't know, but the fact that President Trump called her, and I would be utterly shocked if she was lying about that. The fact that he called her to ask, I mean, there's certainly was bothering them enough that it has gotten under their skin. Yeah, well, Discovery is going to reveal all, but it will have a chilling effect if she gets like Alex Jones for sure. That will be wild.
This was the video that some guy was partying on the beach that you said what's happening over there, and he got yelled at by his wife on vacation. And because you just came from vacation, I wanted to get your take on if there's any.
Wasn't quite the kind of vacation I was on. This was your vacation, but okay, let's see this.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
She got the right one today.
What just happened? Was there something that happened off camera, or she's literally got beef with him resting up against her?
Yeah, her husband
thigh.
talking to a stranger in the pool, singing "Hey Birthday," and then.
Dude, that is a level of insecurity that is so unappealing. I don't get this. I'm not wired for that. Like if I saw Lisa with a jacked guy with $250,000 worth of jewelry around his neck that flew in on a private jet, like richer than me, bigger muscles. Dude, if my wife is having a good time, I am not about to freak out. Now, if she's groping him,
I was about to say, no way, you are way too cool for this. Yeah, there got to be a line. Okay,
of course there's a line.
Okay.
But it's like to be playful or flirtatious, like that is so, that's insecurity. It is not a good look. Like if you want to take your husband to the side and be like, hey, I just want to express, I love that. Here's the thing. Remember, my wife and I speak in insecurities. So I'd be like, listen, I'm getting older. I see you with somebody who's younger, more attractive. It just triggers a thing in me. I get it. You were just having fun. You were being playful. I don't want to make a big deal out of this, but it does make me a little uncomfortable. So next time, if you could, just like a little space. Okay. You may say, listen, I don't like that. That boundary doesn't make me feel good. But obviously I'm not making you feel beautiful. I'm not making you feel desired. I'm going to address that because I find you beautiful. Right? You can have that moment, but like, I don't get it. I don't get how people can't see how that comes across. Yeah.
Is okay. You said it'll have to hit like a certain threshold. Is there a unwritten rule or like a conversation that's kind of like, all right, when we're in public spaces, just don't do this thing.
100%. Lisa and I have talked about this, like up, down, like every way you can talk about it.
Got you. Okay.
And we've looked at videos like that together, and I'll be like, I would not care if you are having fun and you're singing and goofing around, or I'm like on a business call and I come back and you're dancing with somebody, but you're not like doing the lambada, like you're dancing like normal people dancing on a dance floor, like you're doing your thing, and if he's grinding on you, I'm gonna have a beef. Basically, if you know whether he's circumcised or not, I have beef. If you don't, then like, dude, there's nothing to trip out about. So I don't know. I don't have the jealousy gene like that. So
somebody, Marisha Dart was like, she got good genes, the woman in the video. So yes,
she does.
Yes,
let's go.
I would also like that commercial.
You can't be mad.
I would like that one. So this, because to me, I feel like vacation is like a slippery slope. I'm gonna be honest. Like I was part of the problem this weekend. We were out, we were drinking, we were having a good time. We were dancing with anybody. Just hey, this is where.
Does anybody at the party know whether or not you're circumcised?
That's
a yes.
I don't know if she was with somebody at that moment, but no, it was 100%, island dancing is different. But I say all that to say is that hilarious. Like, I have been like a part of the problem in the past where it's just like, hey, we're having a good time. And then I've seen people walk away and have like that conversation.
Yeah. Listen, if you're grinding on somebody, that's bad mojo. But having fun. Yeah. Anyway, Lisa has never crossed the line. I've never thought like, oh my God. So yeah, no, this one just does not make my radar.
It's interesting. I'm seeing comments right here.
It says Tom doesn't get jealous; he gets richer.
There it is.
It's exactly right.
Skerber Derba, very good point. Going back to the Emmanuel Macron thing for a second.
Yeah.
Wanting to be with a cis woman doesn't make you a bigot. Being an asshole to trans women because they are trans makes you a bigot. So is there something to less about the, let's just say, truth of it all? Allegedly, I don't know. So it's less about whether or not she was trans or not, but how Candace has been holding the investigation. Can it be cyberbullying?
Like why they're suing her?
I'm just trying to see, like, is there something a part of this lawsuit other than she's a man, she's not a man? Like that, I feel like there might be another layer that we're not considering.
I mean, that's interesting. So there are different levels of analysis that you can run on this. One is influencers. How much should they package their communication in a way that's entertaining? Because Candace is so unhinged, she's fun to watch. Because Destiny is so unhinged, he's fun to watch. So they have a pact with their audience, which is like, I'm going to give this to you in the most outrageous, distilled way possible. It's, I think, a little bit of WWE in that I know that people are going to, I believe it, but I know that people are going to pay attention more if I say it like this, if I make the t-shirt and I wear the t-shirt and all that. And so you do, as a personality, you have an obligation to entertain. You can debate all day that you don't, but you do. People are not going to watch if you're not entertaining them. There's just too many options these days. So even if they're teaching you calculus, they better do it in a way that's entertaining. So you have an obligation with your audience to entertain. So I get how people end up distilling their personality, how the kayfabe of it all comes into play. But you run a risk. There's a chance that you're going to find yourself in a situation where either you regret saying something. I mean, look at Vince McMahon and having a whole arc with his wife, and he's like kissing like the ring girl, but he's actually married. And it's like, is the wife actually upset about what they're doing or not? And is it make believe, or is she really getting offended? Like, there were times where they were crossing lines and just pushing things too far. That's kayfabe. That's what makes it fun to watch, but it's fun to watch partly because it's dangerous. And you're like, but wait, there could be real consequences in your real life marriage because of the way that you're kayfabing. So it's possible that the kayfabe went a little too far, that Candace like stepped into the aggressive posture a little too much, and now it's possible that she ends up paying a price for this. It's also possible she comes out the other side, she's a Teflon Don, she bats this all away, or that she ends up being right, which would just be like she would go through the stratosphere. But she is, I think, playing a caricaturized, you get it, version of herself. I don't think that she's like that all the time. She's dialed to 11 when she's in front of the camera. Okay. And there may be a consequence for that. We'll see. So you could look at it from that perspective. You're never going to find me talking like that. I don't like the way that she talks. It's too aggressive, over the top. Destiny has said publicly that he likes to get into confrontation with people. I don't. So I'm like, I'm not trying to put you in a position where you feel badly about yourself. In fact, when I'm getting into like a really heated thing with somebody, I'll often be trying to give them an off-ramp. Now, if they don't take the off-ramp, then it's like, okay, well, we've got to keep going, especially if I think it matters. But there are some people that just like to harp on something. So she's always going to put herself in a position where if she meets somebody else that likes high confrontation, they're going to collide like matter and antimatter. So, and you run up against a politician, and they're like the king of dirty games. So be careful who you take on. Like, choose your enemies wisely.
Yeah. We'll see how it plays out. If she wins this thing, though, like, that comeback episode is going to be a victory lap. She is going to be rubbing their face in it. So
yeah,
this is definitely a dangerous game to play.
It is a very dangerous game.
The number one app on the App Store was the T app.
This is wild, dude.
So the T is a woman-only app where users anonymously share info and warnings about men to spot red flags and get feedback.
This post has 42.3 million.
And I want to say I've seen this. Insane. I've seen this original post. Since then, people were getting hacked, doxed. The profile pictures were leaked. Like the company,
the women,
yeah. Some anonymous screenshots were released. So people have been coming at this app trying to see what's on the other side of it. So definitely not for doxing or exposing personal info. So if there's anything like really shitty that it got to that point,
that's basically all it's for.
Yeah.
So what do you mean it's not for that?
No, like people are now taking
profiles on men and saying.
So then people are now going and taking the profiles of the women and saying, okay, these are where they are. And
yeah, you're saying, I don't condone it. I don't want them to do it. It's happening.
Us talking about it.
Cheering
is
for
not
it.
A condone it.
Yeah, gotcha. Yes, very true.
It is interesting though how this app was received. I'll put it there.
Say more. What do you mean? Do you think this should have been received well and wasn't, or should have been received poorly and was received well?
I feel like, to me, I didn't understand the fuss of it, because to me this is digital gossip, and women gossip.
Yeah.
So I think it's the women only thing that kind of triggered some people, that they wanted to be a part of it, even though it was about them. Like there's this thing sometimes when men aren't included at the table, they get like, well, how come I should be there? I should be allowed to be there. It should be like people are fighting to be a part of it, even though a lot of people that I think were upset probably weren't even being featured. So it was like this like outside looking in and then not understanding what's actually in there.
It's interesting. I have a very different take on this. So I think this is a symptom of men and women are adversaries now, in the same way that we are in a populist moment from a political standpoint. We are in a similar tribal standpoint with men versus women. And it's not everybody, but certainly there's a large contingent of people that actually see the opposite sex as the enemy. And it is so toxic and so anti-evolution. This is going to continue to go wrong. This is like the reddest of red flags for me, that this is happening.
That the app was even created.
Yeah, that the app was created, that men and women view each other like this. As they say, anybody who trades freedom for safety will have very little of either. So I get that women women understand that men are predators, some men, and that just is true. And women understand that they need protection from men, some men, again, that is true. But women seem blind to the fact that their form of violence is reputation savaging. And they have created an app that I think is far more designed to get back at men, or certainly that's how it will be used, designed to get back at men in a punitive fashion, than to actually be like, hey, watch out for this guy's lovely, whatever. Remember, people break up because something went wrong. And so this is all going to just be an endless stream of all the bad things about that guy. And so also women would be in a terrible position if they were like big upping a guy who's legitimately at the top of the sexual market value, because he's already got his pick of women. So that's already going to piss people off. So he's going to have access, literally a 10 guy has access to all 1 through 10 women. But a 7 woman does not have access to like the full range of guys. She's only looking up, over and up, right? Because of something called hypergamy. So it's like this creates this really weird imbalance where a huge portion of guys have access to very few women, and then women are all fighting to get the top guys to commit, but they won't because they have access to all 10, just on a scale of 1 to 10. So women would be in a better position to try to isolate a guy so they can get him for themselves. And once you understand, this is how women have learned to move on evolutionary timescales in a society, by playing these games. So there have been studies done. Women who find other women to be a threat to them sexually will try to convince that woman to cut her hair short. Sit with that for a minute. So she is doing things that she knows lowers your sexual market value, all the while being like, yeah, yes, queen, you look awesome. So
but just so that way I can have a better chance at getting the partner I want.
So look, dude, if you look at men and say all men are evil, that's very stupid. Life will be very confusing. If you look at women and go, women are all good, that's stupid. Life will be very confusing. You have to understand the ways in which men are violent and horrible, and you have to understand the ways in which women are violent and horrible. And then go, okay, cool, I get it. We're evolutionary creatures. So the instant somebody does red flaggy thing, I'm not going to freak out. I'm going to be like, okay, we all have red flags. There are going to be hard lines. Like if you get a sense of you lack safety, get out immediately. 1,000%. Do whatever you need to get safe immediately. However, guys aren't women. They process the world differently than you. They act differently than you. They think differently than you. And if you want a man, you have to understand, they're going to be like that. If you're a guy and you want to be with a woman, you have to understand they're going to parse the world differently than you. The most frustrating period of my marriage was when I expected my wife to act like me. And I didn't realize, oh, wait, she actually sees the world differently. That's why she's making different choices. She doesn't see the world the way that I see the world and is making a different choice. She sees the world differently and makes a choice that's in alignment with that. Then all of a sudden I was like, I need to learn about how women think. Obviously, they're not all going to be the same. I understand that. But like women have a nature. Once you understand their nature, then it's like, oh, my wife will deviate from this, but only so far. And now I have a much better understanding of how she's processing the world. So I'm not making just dumb rookie mistakes. So anyway, seeing my wife as an adversary would be a huge mistake. I see her as a partner who is more valuable to the partnership because she thinks differently than she would be if we thought the same. We need to have the same core values. That's very important. And we spend a lot of time making sure that, first of all, that we started with roughly very similar core values. And over time, we've shaped each other to make sure that we share core values moving into the future. But yeah, seeing each other as the enemy is wacky.
Yeah. Vero Smitty responded back to me because she said, honestly, I'm over it. I was like, are you over the T app or are you over men? She said, men and dating. Too many games and unspoken rules. I never use that app. Not interested in dating. So a lot of people are just kind of opting out.
Look, they're in a rough spot. This is a weird time. And just like I would say to somebody, right now trying to, if you're poor and you're trying to get into the upper class, it's a harder game than it would have been in the 80s. You can still do it. And yes, you want to put some energy into getting rid of the inequality, but you also want to put energy into going, how do I win at the game right now today? So one, if I were trying to meet somebody right now today, I wouldn't even try apps. I wouldn't have an account. I would just be meeting people in real life. And I would figure out when and where are people going to be, where there's some cue that they share my interests, where they can pick up on my vibe, that I have a chance to be me at my best. So talking about, something where I can shine, probably not going to be at a sporting event. I don't know anything about sports. So I'm going to meet them somewhere else. It's going to be social. I'm going to try to find something where I'm going to have an opportunity to shine. And so finding an opportunity where you're forced together, where you're forced to meet other people, where there's high turnover, that's going to be very useful. But there's enough consistency that you'll see some of the same people week after week, but it's not a closed barrel of fish. And just looking for that kind of stuff. Over humans, esoteric dichotomy, I hope not.
So then what do you think that comes from, where you can start an app like T and
Ricky, you're not necessarily wrong.
Women's violence can go crazy, which is like reputation damage.
Yep.
But you can't start a man-only app that rapes women.
People will hate it and they'll squawk and they'll complain.
I mean, but there was some screenshots from ChatGPT, people saying, hey, I want to build an app like this. And it was like, no, sorry, we can't. So like policy.
Chat won't actually code it for you, but you can find an AI that will. Or, hey, learn to code, Drew, and build it yourself. If you built it and then the App Store wouldn't let you on, that's 10 pounds of ass. But I mean, are guys really going to care? Like that's just so mean-spirited that's really like, that's not really how guys get down. Like they're way more likely to be drawn to porn and OnlyFans than they are to be like, I'm just going to go dunk on this chick. So yeah, like even what's his face? Andrew Tate has the promise of you're going to be a better man. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be rich. You're going to have 10 women want to marry you. Like that's the real promise. It's not just the bitterness. The bitterness is a nice side dish, but it's not the main course. But it is wild to see how many people are bitter and adversarial now.
Yeah.
That's real.
And then I'm going to get lit up in the chat. Lisa, help me.
I don't think she's there anymore.
How do we deal with the accountability of relationships? I think men, to your point earlier, they hear their stories. I would much rather be with a bear than be with a man. Like, men are safe. They have a history of being abusive, patriarchy, Like, men have gotten dragged through the mud. However, the accountability for women's role in the manipulation of the dating market currently doesn't seem to get addressed or brought to light or anything like that.
Yeah. People try. They do it from a place of bitterness. They do it from a place of, I don't want it to be this way. But if instead you look at it and go, okay, wait a second. Evolution had to have a strategy. Mm-hmm. Women can barely stand upright. I'm not kidding. If their hips got any wider, they would not be able to stand up. So evolution was like, I really want you to make this baby smart as hell. So I'm going to make its head big. I'm going to make it just as big as I can make it. to where you wouldn't be able to stand up anymore if we keep going wider. Then I'm going to saddle you with it and make you like essentially gestate it externally for like 20 years. And so we have this really fascinating strategy of not having the kid be hardwired with everything. You come out, you have to teach, you have to take care of it. I mean, literally for years, it can't eat on its own. So now it's like, okay, shit. Well, how do I adapt that woman to be able to do all of that stuff? And so they get all kinds of tricks and things that men are just terrible at. So 15% of women have a fourth photoreceptor. So they're actually able to see colors that men can't see. So if you've ever wondered why a woman can tell like, oh, those colors don't match, and you're looking at it like, what are you talking about? It's like their ability to read like changes in the color of a baby's face, extreme. The fact that they can sense the change in a baby's mood, they can produce milk, they can actually gestate a child. I mean, just like all this incredible magical stuff that we used to be like, women are the representation of mystery because they can do this thing that is so incredible and so like black magic. I mean, it's like, let me be crass for a minute if there are any kids here. Like as a guy, you're like, I come inside a woman and she makes a fucking baby. Like, dude, that's wild. The woman could give you an egg as the guy and you'd be like, I will, like, what do I do with it? You can't do anything with it. So it is absolutely phenomenally magical. But the flip side of that coin is they're not as big. They're not as strong. They have a totally different kind of ambition. Like they are wired to focus on the individual. They don't have the sense of spatial relations. Like they're just wired to be optimized to make sure that that child is raised well, survives. And so then women had to be like, okay, well then I'm going to need a partner in this. And so they became the sexual gatekeepers because pregnancy is so expensive for a woman and so inexpensive for a man. And men are basically the answer to the question of what do women need as the sexual gatekeepers. They have literally shaped us over, God knows how many hundreds of thousands of years into the thing that would ensure that they have strong children that have children. And so they bred men to have stronger upper bodies, to be bigger, to be hyper ambitious, to be effectively disposable so that they will charge towards danger, have this sense of like huge emotional rewards for being a protector, that spatial relations so they can go on the hunt, like all of those things. And so women, given that they can be predated by men, have to have a strategy to fight against that. So one of the strategies is to convince the men in your family to fight for you. Another strategy is to work with other women through men. One of the most fascinating stories, the IRA, Irish terrorist group, they could not infiltrate it. You know why they couldn't infiltrate it?
Why?
Because information was only passed woman to woman. And because the women controlled, this is where we're going to meet at what time, the women instantly knew, I don't know that bitch. I'm not telling her shit. She's going to have to earn her way in. Guys were like, oh yeah, word, Timmy's here to help fight. Okay, cool. We're going to meet here at this time at this place. And then Timmy was a fucking spy. And so Timmy went back and told everybody. But women don't play that game. Women are all about relationships. And they know if somebody's being sus, like they suss it out immediately. They're constantly, as you said, gossiping, like they're trying to figure it out. So women develop this other strategy of surviving in an extremely dangerous world. And so anybody that one looks at that and is like, this bitch, she's so manipulative. It's like, bro, that was the survival mechanism that she's developed. It's fine-tuned. Figure out a way to use that in your life. So if my wife pulls me aside and is like, yo, that guy's sus in business, I'm like, shit, he really might be sus. So I'm like, yeah, she sees things that I don't. If Lisa pulls me aside and is like, that person, like, they're terrible at their job, I'm like, ooh, I need to think about that. Because I'm often blind to it much longer than she is. So anyway, that you want to understand from an evolutionary perspective, how did they end up the way that they are instead of seeing them as your adversary?
Truth Devin really liked your take on this, but had one thing to add, which is, Tom, the issue that most men want beautiful women, and the most beautiful women just want the most successful men like you. Honestly speaking, and most men can't get successful enough to get them.
Yeah. welcome to life. You're mad at God. You're mad at God. I don't know why people get mad at that. So remember, I've been broke far longer than I've been wealthy. And when I would look out at the sea of women, I would just write off a huge swath of them and just be like, that chick's too hot for me. Okay, it is what it is. Like, listen, when Lisa and I got together, I was like, I am so into this chick. And I said to her, trust me, I'm never going to be looking over your shoulder for a more attractive woman. Because I believed even then that I was going to be rich one day. I'm like, I'm going to be successful. I'm never going to, quote unquote, upgrade you for a different model. Like, that's not what this is. This is about sharing a life with somebody. So it's not like, oh, there aren't women more attractive than my wife. There are. So you go for people that are in your sexual market and you share a life with them. And you say, I get that I can't get every woman. I want someone that I can connect with, relate to, fall in love with, be made better by, which is something we've completely lost in culture. Women should want to make their man better. Women should help their man get better. Men should not feel threatened by that. But yeah, like all this stuff, like people have just gotten crazy. Not everybody's for you. Like your looks are going to determine a huge part of who's attracted to you. You just got to accept it. Find somebody in your intellectual range. That's very important. Find somebody you're attracted to. That's very important. Find somebody that has a growth mindset. That's hugely important. And find somebody that takes care of their body. These are important. Having a model, from my experience, just isn't important. So anyway, I have thanked Lisa many times publicly and privately. I am so grateful that she takes care of herself. And I think she is beautiful. And I think she is hot still to this day. But she's worked at it. And I'm grateful for that. But I don't think either of us are delusional. I don't think I'm the best looking guy that's ever walked the face of the earth. I think that's pretty self-evident. And nonetheless, my wife at least makes me believe that she loves me and is into me. And I certainly love her and I'm into her. But you have to understand the game.
I remember you told me something. Well, I was telling one of my Streets is Trash stories. And you were like, well, you know, she showed you the red flag and that's good for you. You avoided one. And a lot of times I think people dating, when things don't work out, they're like, oh, this is why dating is terrible. They internalize it, as opposed to like a salesman, you know, it takes 100 no's to get to the one yes, and that one yes could change everything. In this sense, I feel like nowadays the rejection that happens in dating, maybe it's just at a greater scale, maybe with social media. I think I'm a 10, but my social life is a 6, and now I feel like I'm living like I don't know where the warp in our perception is, but it does feel like rejection hurts harder now. People are then less likely to get out there.
Ready for the really bad news? It's because women make a ton of money. They're very good being in the workforce. They only date over and up. And they have a global audience.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time talking to somebody who I will forever let remain nameless. And he was the kind of guy that would find the 10s to like, hey, my boy's flying to St. Lucia for a big party. And you're beautiful. You should meet him. And he would just fly these girls out. And I was just like, whoa, I can't believe that's real, but that's real.
Mm.
And all of this, like, you can access any man, anywhere. You can make your own money. You don't have the hardship that drives you together. You don't have the sense of like, one, I'm going to be a mother. Not being a mother is an option. I'm going to be a mother. It is the most profound thing that I could do in life, okay, for millennia. There was no pill. So you were either going to be celibate or you were going to be a mother. So I'm going to be a mother. So now I've got to strategize differently. Mm-hmm. I've got to find a man that's going to be a good man, that's going to take care of me, that's invested, that's going to make my kids dope. So it's like, can that guy provide? And by the way, you only saw the dudes in your village. So now it's like, if you're playing, like there's a study that you do where you give everybody, however many people in the room, 20 people, let's say, and you're all given a card randomly from a 52 card deck.
Yeah.
You put it on your head. You can't see yours, but you can see everybody else's, and everybody else can see yours. And your job is to get the highest card to stick with you as possible. And so if you've got a 2 and you go up to someone who's got a king, it's like, they're going to be like, nah, and they'll just move on. And so now you're like, okay, I'm lower than a king. He dismiss me really fast, so I must be a lot lower than a king. And so you just settle out. That was village life. There were only so many people you were going to meet. You knew it was either celibacy or somebody.
That's a very good analogy.
And so now all of a sudden you found the person that was like in your sexual market value that you like could actually be into. And we don't have any of that anymore. We have a global audience of people who've been trained that there's always another fish in the sea. I don't need no man. I can make my own money. And by the way, women are sharp. So now it's like, I'm actually outperforming these bozos at my job because the work world's made for people with my temperament. Sit down, do a thing, be relational, connect with other people, figure out where you are in the hierarchy, do a little poisoning over here, build a relationship over there. They're fucking built for that shit. So it's like they're having a good time. Now guys are like, well, hold on a second. I'm not making as much money as you. And you only date guys that are making as much or more than you. I'm also maybe on a look scale of 6 and you're a 7. I could have made up for it if I was an 8 and you were a 5 in finances, but now I'm a click below you in finances and a click below you in looks. Like I just can't make this work. And then the whole dating app of it all, and women are waiting and waiting and waiting because they can just be on birth control forever. So they're not even trying to find a guy until they're in their 30s. It's like, it really is set up for disaster. But again, this is where I'm like, hey, don't confuse is for ought. This is how the world is. By all means, put the word out that people should stop doing that. They should meet in public, all that stuff, that they need a value system that they can articulate, blah, blah, blah. But the world is the way that it is. So now that we know that, how are we going to deal with it? People don't. They just get mad. And it's like, I don't understand when people don't step back and go, I don't like the way the world is, but it is knowable. This is a winnable game. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to go back in and solve for this. It doesn't violate the laws of physics. And then, by the way, Drew, so I think people will believe me when I say I was not good with women. I'll give a couple quick things and they will see how not good with women I was. I had a girl invite me to watch a porn with her, which I did, and I didn't make a move because I didn't know that was a cue. So we watched an entire porn film down to the credits, and I didn't try to hold her hand, nothing. I once got to second base and missed out.
Second base is like...
Yep. And still managed to flub that. So when I say that, like, I was unbelievably bad with women, but I was like, okay, if I can understand what's happening, if I accept I'm doing something wrong, there's something I don't understand, then I can figure this out. So easier time, there's no doubt. I'm not asking anybody to believe that I had to go through all of that also while being in the worst setup of all time. But there are rules to the way that things work. And if you map cause and effect, your life will be better. Yeah, sorry, Frodo. That one, unfortunately, no one is going to be impressed with my early days. I was terrible.
Maybe we went all the way the other. You might get bonus points for that nowadays. Like, what? We watched the whole movie. He didn't even touch me. Who knows?
Yeah, but maybe. But here's the thing. I finally had to figure out what the rules of the game are. And when I heard for like the 30th time, you just need to be an asshole, I was like, okay, I know that isn't what people mean, but there's something there, and that's why that stereotype exists. So what do they mean? And I was like, oh, they mean confidence. And so I just said, from now on, I'm going to be aggressively myself, and I'm always going to be willing to walk away. And Drew, when I say from a Monday to Tuesday, I couldn't get laid to I could get laid with people in my sexual market value, but I could get laid, not at will, but distressingly close. I was like, whoa, like that is hysterical that it's that straightforward. Now, the rules of the game have changed and all that stuff, but it's not an unrecognizable game as far as I can tell.
And I think what jumped off the plate that people miss is like, it's a global game, but you can use that in your favor as well.
Correct.
Where yes, the billionaire in Abu Dhabi can fly your girl out from the community, but there's a bunch of single women in the South of America that are just chilling and they don't want to deal with a dude who has a pickup truck. You go over there and clean up, bro. Like there's plenty other pockets. Everybody wants to move to downtown LA and be like, how come I'm not married tomorrow? And it's like, well, this is an oversaturated market, but there are other markets that probably work better in your favor. So,
Yep. Also, it's you that has the friend that's short, right? He just cleans up.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you make women feel some kind of way, like they feel good about themselves when they're around you, they're fun, they're having a good time, it just doesn't matter. But have you put any time and energy into figuring out, how do I make a woman feel good sincerely? I'm not going to fake it. Yeah, people aren't here to map the game, man. They want it to be a certain way. It isn't that way, and they get mad. Unwise.
And we got a super chat.
Let's go.
From Mr. G. He said, you all have to check out Connor Boyack for teaching kids principles. He discusses many things Tom does, like Jekyll Island, and my 10-year-old daughter loves his shows and books. And then Marusha Dark gave some context on this. The Tuttle twins makes libertarian children's books, like they had one on the creature from Jekyll Island.
The Tuttle twins. I've heard that name somewhere.
It seems ominous.
Can you get me both of those in Slack?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. That'd be amazing. All right, everybody. It is that time. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you are getting any value out of this content, please make sure that you subscribe and tell somebody. We want to grow this channel. All right, everybody. We will see you on Friday. Until then, be legendary. Take care. Peace.